afternoon.
Hi, Tom. Good to see you back.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
By the way, it's go rinse, like your go rinse your hand.
Go rinse. I keep wanting to say to you, how do you say your last name? Because I keep struggling. I'm like, go rinse. Okay, now I'll remember that because I'm like, I'm not sure I've said it right yet. So I apologize.
You know, years ago, my banker called me Soapy.
Oh, you're kidding. Why?
Go rinse.
Oh, low rents. I get it. So go rents. Okay. All right. Go rents. So
Yep.
the G is a really hard G. Okay.
It is.
Okay. All right. Got it. Now that you've told me that story, I will not forget. So thank you.
Nice to see you, Teresa.
Yeah, you too.
Hello, Miss Otto. I have not seen you in quite a while.
I know. How are you?
Glad to be back to working again, even in this fashion.
I know. And we are doing some stuff in person, but I think this latest some courts have now shut down again. So I think we might have some more delays. So it's unfortunate, but our world is in chaos these days. So.
Right. We live in a strange world right now, but grateful to be here at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you again, Lori.
Well, thank you. It's been a very long time since I've done a zoning meeting, and I have not done one via Zoom.
Okay. So
go ahead. I apologize.
Well, that's right. So today is sort of a carryover day. We didn't have enough time to finish our docket from about a week and a half ago. So we have a limited number of items left today, but a couple of the cases I understand have some significant number of people that want to be involved. So I'm actually going to take cases out of order today. We're going to take 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 first, and then I'm going to go back and take 15 and 17 because we're going to handle the matters that I don't think we'll have as much testimony on so that we don't hold people online longer than we need to. But we call the cases, Lori, just like we do the last time. And you'll be able to see, we ask everybody to change their screen names if they can, so you can see their name, as well as I ask them to state their names. I ask them to, take the oath. And if their name is not clear on their box, that way you'll get a spelling, okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, and to be brutally honest, I have a video camera that you can't hear. I'm actually going to video the screen.
Okay. So,
I am old and I like to just have extra precautions.
that's fine. And this is being recorded, so there is a recording of it. So,
well, you never know. Things happen in Zoom, and I'd rather take extra precautions than have trouble and not have what I need. So,
absolutely understood.
All right. Well, we're good because I got them marked in order now. If you're going to do them in the order you gave me, I'm good.
Yeah, I am going to do them that way. I think people are starting to pop on, so I think they can hear and see us. So.
Can you hear me?
Tony, yes, I can hear you. Yes.
I'm having a technical problem. Okay.
I get it. No, you're good. I had my volume turned too low just a minute ago and I couldn't hear people. So I figured that out too. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to adjust the lighting so people can see my face rather than just a dark blob. There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Tom. I think we might have everyone, right? I have Tom and Tom, Mike, Mark, Randy, and Tony. Okay, yep, we've got everybody.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Mike, we can. And we can now see you, Mike. Okay.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, Mark Ebbets here.
Mark,
Can you
yes, I
me
can
okay?
hear you too. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not a screensaver, by the way. I'm
Are you-
really in Florida.
Oh, you are. I see the ocean in the background. I'm a little
Yes.
jealous. I'm a little jealous.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Anna, are you ready? I think it's 1 o'clock. See if staff's all here.
One moment. We are figuring out the YouTube streaming options.
Okay,
And
just
then
let
we'll
us,
be ready.
yeah, just let me know when you're ready and if all the staff is here that we need to handle the cases we have that remain.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, Sarah. Okay, we're just waiting on our law representative to
Okay.
join us.
Yeah, I noticed that too, Anna, that she's not on yet. Okay. And there she is. Anna, there's a attendee that has their hand raised if someone would address that issue.
Sarah has joined us. Good afternoon, Sarah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And we're having some technical difficulties with Zoom and streaming it live to YouTube. Does that pose any legal concerns for us this afternoon?
Are there any issues with people being able to attend via Zoom?
No,
Okay, so is the only issue is with the broadcasting?
correct.
No, we're okay. As long as people are allowed to participate through Zoom, we're fine. You know, if you're able to get it up and running, I think that would be ideal, but we can proceed without.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So then Anna, do you want us to get started?
Yes, let's get started.
Okay.
Second, let me make this all talk to each other first.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just tell us if you're ready, Lori.
Okay, and just one thing really quick, I'm sure you're all aware of this, but I say it at every Zoom proceeding. If you talk over each other, Zoom picks one of you and drowns the other out. So you will get a whole lot of inaudibles in there. So just be very careful of that. And I'll try and stop you if I see you doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Board of Zoning Adjustment is now in session to hear the remainder of our cases on this special docket today. I want to let the applicants know that I'm going to take cases out of order today because I understand a couple items have numerous witnesses. So I'm going to try to handle those cases that will probably be handled more quickly, so those folks do not have to sit online longer than they need to today. So I'm going to start with item 18 through 22 first, and then I'm going to go back and take 15 and 17. So for the applicants, understand that's the order for today. I will let Anna give you the presentation on how you join us in the procedures. Anna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we are conducting this meeting via Zoom, and the board, everyone is fairly familiar with the Zoom at this point, but for those members of the public who are participating for the first time in a public hearing via Zoom, there are two primary categories that people are participating in this meeting. So right now we have panelists, the first category, that is compiled of board members and city staff. Applicants and citizens wishing to speak on a case, you're going to use the raise hand feature. It's in the bottom ribbon portion of your Zoom screen, and that will signify to us that you want to participate or speak up. We'll admit you as a panelist. It's going to look like for a few seconds that you've been disconnected from the meeting, but don't panic. You will reconnect with us shortly. Once that you have been reconnected, the chairwoman, she will ask for you to turn on your camera and your microphone so that she can swear you in. Once you are sworn in as a panelist, we want to make sure that we're all muted when we're not speaking. That is, as the court reporter said, to eliminate any background noise. If you are joining us via the app or a computer, we would like you to change your screen name or your login that you use to access the Zoom meeting to your full name. That helps us with admitting people into this process. And so we do understand that if you are on the phone, you are unable to do that. Madam Chair, that's all.
Okay, I think we have a couple questions in chat. Let me look at those before. Okay, looks like we've all handled those. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Again, let's begin with the first case that we're going to hear today from our prior docket. It's docket item 18. The case number is 86. The address is 5127 Walnut Street. Would those online, both applicant and any persons here in support or opposition, please raise your hand to be promoted and we will hear the case. Those of you that have been promoted that are here on interest in this case, please turn on your cameras and your microphones, please, so I can recognize you and have you sworn in. Mr. Hawkins, I see you. Could you state your name, please?
Daryl Hawkins.
And would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And sir, you're the applicant in this case, is that correct?
I am.
Okay. And I see Kirk Gassinger, are you here on this case?
I doubt it.
It's for a later case.
Okay, all right, well then, okay. And then I see an MJC Taylor, are you here on this case? Okay, I assume not. Is there anyone else who is interested in this case, 5127 Walnut Street, that is one of the attendees online? If so, please raise your hand and we will admit you.
Seeing no other attendees raise their hand.
Okay. Mr. Hawkins, have you reviewed the staff report that's been created as it relates to this application on behalf
I
of?
have.
Do you have any objection to my admitting the administrative exhibits that number 1 through 9 that are found on the 3rd page of that report?
That should be fine.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Jared, you have this case. I believe you have a PowerPoint presentation. Let's hear that, and then we'll have questions for Mr. Hawkins.
Absolutely. Let me quickly share my screen and we'll get started. All righty. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, before us, we have docket item number 18. This is at 5127 Walnut Street. Zoning is R-5. The applicant is seeking approval of a side setback variance. This is the location of the subject site. Let's see, it's near East 51st Terrace and Walnut Street. These are some elevations of the subject site. This is from the west here, and this is from the south. There is an existing part of the house that is already encroaching into the side setback. They are seeking to add on above it, as you can see here. So these are the Missouri case factors. The variance is for 4 feet, leaving a 1 foot setback. A substantial change is not anticipated as the existing portion of the home already encroaches into the side setback and has been that way for a number of years. The existing difficulty in this case could not be obviated. The difficulty caused by the proposed addition could only be obviated by adding on to the home on a different portion of the house. Staff has reviewed all zoning variance review criteria and finds this case to be in compliance. With that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Jared. Mr. Hawkins, what is this addition for?
This is a closet, master closet.
Okay, so it's not changing. It will be, its side setback will be no different than the existing house. Is that correct?
Actually, a little less, right?
Okay, and how long has the existing house been in its current configuration?
Approximately 100 years.
Okay, all right. Does the board understand this request or have any questions for Mr. Hawkins? Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Stiller.
in case number 86, I move that the board grant the requested variance in accordance with the staff report and the site plan.
Thank you, Mr. Stiller. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second for Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And any opposed? I think Mr. Gorenz and Mr. Kelleher said aye. Is that correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you guys. All right. And chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, let's move on to docket item 19, case number 89 with an address of 5318 Sunset Drive. With the applicant and any persons here interested in support or opposition, please raise your hand to be promoted and we'll hear this case.
Megan Dix, if you are online, can you please raise your hand so we can promote you to be a panelist?
And if you're uncertain on how to raise your hand, at the bottom of the screen, there will be a hand that says raise hand. Anna, let's hold this case. It seems like there's no one here.
Okay.
I mean, are you seeing anybody?
No, no one has raised their hand.
Okay, let's hold 19. Let's move to docket number 20. Case number 91 with an address of 236 West 54th Street with the applicant and all persons interested in supporting or opposing this application. Please raise your hand to be promoted.
Michael has been promoted.
I believe Katie Shell, the owner, was planning to attend, but I'm not sure if she is online.
She is online.
There she is. Okay. All right. All right. Mr. Blackledge, would you state your name for the record, please?
Michael Blackledge, Piper Wind Architects.
Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ms. Schnell, would you please state your name for the record?
Sure. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Catherine Lee Shell.
Okay. Ms. Shell, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Blackledge, Ms. Shell, have you reviewed the staff report that's been created as it relates to this application?
I have.
Do you have any objection to my admitting the administrative exhibits found on the third page of that report, numbering 1 through 9?
No objection.
Okay. Administrative exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And I believe, Anna, is this your case?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead and present, please.
One moment. Okay. So docket item number 20, this focuses on 236 West 54th Street. It's zoned R10. The applicant is seeking approval of a variance to the pool siding requirements and a special exception for a fence. There have been previous variances approved for this site. And I do want to add that an additional administrative exhibit does need to be admitted. That is chapter 27 of the Code of Ordinances. And this deals with the fence portion of this presentation.
Mr.
So
Black,
this-
I'm sorry, and Mr. Blackledge, any objection to my admitting that further administrative exhibit?
No objection.
That exhibit will be admitted as number 10. Is that correct, Anna?
Correct.
Okay. So admitted. Go ahead.
Okay. The property is located in the near Loose Park, directly to the west. I'm sorry, to the east. This is a close-up of the property. It is highlighted in yellow. You can see Loose Park is right over here, and here is Warnell Road. These are some elevations provided by the applicant. You can see the home, the proposed garage, and the true subject matter of this request, which deals with the pool and the associated walls. The variance requests are highlighted in green. This is a close-up of the applicant's site plan. So we have the pool and the wall. So according to our code, pools are permitted in the rear and side yards. And due to this property's location on a corner lot, the front property line is associated with the property line that faces Warnell. The street side yard faces West 54th Street. The rear property yard faces the adjacent property owner, and then the interior side yard is associated with the north property, thus making the requirement for the pool siding to need a variance because it is technically in the front yard, but due to the orientation of the house, it's visually in their side yard. As noted before, variance A, this is focusing on the pool siding requirement where they can only be in the side and rear yard. So they are proposing for it to be in their front yard, and associated with the new development that's occurring with the pool and the addition, they are wanting to enclose this portion of the property with a fence, which is 5 feet 8 inches. So they are requesting a variance of 1.67 feet. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Blackledge, what do you believe the board should grant this request?
Sorry, I need to unmute myself. As mentioned, the existing construction of the house faces 54th Street. So effectively, the pool and the walls we're proposing are in what is traditionally the side and rear yard of the house, but because of the nature of the proportions of this site, zoning technically classifies the side yard as the front yard in this instance. So generally speaking, if this was an interior lot or the house was oriented with the front the same direction as zoning, we would not even need a variance.
Has your client had any complaints or concerns addressed by neighbors as to this proposed construction?
Not that we are aware of.
Okay. And the need for the fence this high is because of the pool? Is that my understanding?
For privacy around the pool. And technically the main portion of the fence will be 5 feet. The 5 feet 8 is for the posts that would be located spaced around the fence line. You can, Anna, if you can zoom in a little bit, you can kind of see that there's posts along the fence, which are 5 feet 8, but the fence wall itself would be 5 feet. This elevation doesn't quite show the difference in height between the two.
Okay. Board members, do you understand this request or have questions for the applicant? Hearing, I'm sorry, go ahead, Randy.
Oh, sorry, I had one question. Just to clarify, that whole fence would be opaque then, except it looked like maybe a small gate portion that would be more of a wrought iron or something?
Correct. The wrought iron gate facing 54th Street.
Other questions? Hearing no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, Mark Ebbets here. In
Yes.
case number 91, I recommend the applicant be granted the request in accordance with site plan and staff report.
I have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Kelleher. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along, let's move to item 21, docket number 92, with an address of 4315 Troost Avenue. Would the applicant and all persons who are here in support or opposition, please raise your hand to be promoted. Ms. Bo, is it Boley?
Yes, it is.
Okay, are you the applicant?
No, I want to speak after the.
Okay, I understand. In opposition. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Split Gerber, are you here in opposition?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I don't see the applicant yet.
Madam Chair, I'm not seeing the applicant in this meeting.
Okay, okay, since we don't have an applicant, What's the status of this case? Have we continued it before?
No, this is an appeal.
And they were
We haven't heard it before.
Okay. All right. Ms. Boley, Ms. Splitgerber, sorry, I always do that to you. I'm sorry, ma'am.
It's okay.
I think I'd like to hold this case for just a minute since we're kind of out of sync with our typical training. I hate to make you sit through the next couple of cases. Let me take one more case and see if anybody shows up, because I'm probably not going to call this one back and the other one before we take the long cases. Okay, so give me just a minute in case someone is delayed in entering today, and then we'll decide what to do with these cases. Okay, bear with me. All right, let's call then. Let's put that case on hold. Let's call docket number 22, case number 96, with an address of 826 West 54th Terrace. With the applicant and all persons interested in this matter, please raise your hand to be promoted. Okay, Mr. White, can you turn on your microphone? Are you here on this case?
Yes, Your Honor. I represent Aaron and Patricia Lewis, and we have evidence we'd like the board to consider today.
Are you the applicant?
We are opposed.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hess?
Heath, but yeah.
Heath, I'm sorry, Ms. Heath, sorry. Are you here and are you the applicant?
I am not the homeowner, but I am the applicant as for helping with the case.
Okay, so you're with ALH
Home Renovations, yeah.
Okay, all right. And is anyone else here on this case that we haven't recognized? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Gall, what is your connection to the case?
The homeowner.
You're the homeowner, okay. All right, I think I've seen everybody that is different that I haven't seen before. All right, so let's start with you. Ms. Gall, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Amy Gall.
And would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Heath, would you state your full name for the record and I will swear you in?
Megan Heath.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Mr. White, would you state your full name for the record?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm Ryan White, and Patricia Lewis is also here with me today. And we're ready to be sworn.
All right. Would you both please raise your right hands? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And it's White, is that correct? Patricia White.
It's Patricia Lewis, excuse me.
Lewis, I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. I'm having a hard time hearing. Okay. All right. I think just so the court reporter gets the right name. Okay.
And Madam Chair, let's check one more time before you finish swearing everyone in. I think one more attendee was promoted.
Okay. I'm not seeing them.
Did they disappear? Okay. My apologies.
They're not there anymore. Okay. All right. Ms. Heath and Ms. Gall, have you reviewed this, the staff report that has been created as it relates to this application?
I have, yes.
On page 3 of that report, there are a list of 9 administrative exhibits that are connected with the case. Do you have any objection to my admitting those for the board to consider this afternoon?
No, no.
Okay. Exhibit.
You know, as for the plan itself, some consideration of maybe, you know, doing a 4-foot variance instead.
Okay, we'll get to that. And that's not my question. My question is do you have any objections to my simply admitting those 9 exhibits so the board members can review them?
No.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Among those is a PowerPoint presentation about this case. We're going to hear from Anna about that, and then we'll have questions for you both, okay? Anna, when you're ready.
Thank you. One moment. Okay, docket item number 22 focuses on 826 West 54th Terrace. The applicant is seeking approval of a variance to the side yard setback. There have also been previously approved variances associated with this case. The subject site is also located near Luce Park. The subject site is highlighted in yellow. You can see Luce Park over here to the east. And then Summit Street runs north-south as well as Bellevue. These are some photos of the home of the subject property provided by the applicant. The subject variance is associated with the eastern portion of the home right off the garage. This is a close-up of the applicant's submittal. The portion of the variance is highlighted in green. They are requesting a 5.27 foot variance to the side yard setback to accommodate an addition. The required side yard setback of that zoning district is 8 feet. They are proposing 2.73 feet. And as I mentioned before, this requires a variance in the amount of 5.27. And the neighbors who are online have submitted some photos for the record as well. I have them, but also I know that they plan on showing them as well. So when the time is necessary, those will be Exhibit 10. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Anna. Ms. Heath, why do you believe the board should grant this variance?
As for the side yard setback, we are hoping to get it granted because the storage, they're needing additional storage for the garage. And that's why they are wanting to push to that side. As for the design and how it's showcased, it's adding a garage addition to the side. It wouldn't be for a car, but just so that they can have additional storage so it's not sitting on the outside of the home.
So is this a one-story proposed addition? Can you describe that better for the board?
Yeah, it would be a one-story, and then, or at least we're kind of in the midst of going back and forth with Amy, Ms. Gall, basically on if that would be adding to the second story or not. So that's kind of where we haven't really determined that factor yet.
But what you're proposing is basically a third garage door. Is that correct?
Yeah, just so that it kind of ties into the existing home. We wanted to make sure that it didn't look like a structure that was just added on the side. Before, they did already have a variance in 2014 that was approved, and it was a storage on the side basically, and we feel like it didn't tie into the home as well, and they didn't proceed with that structure. So now we're kind of looking at, here's the additional garage storage area that we're hoping that does get approved so that, it would tie into the house and give it a little bit more character that, resembles the rest of the neighborhood too.
Okay. And I know we have opposition. So is there any, and Ms. Heath will be back to you, but I'd like to hear from the opposition.
Well, do I get to speak at all as the homeowner?
Well, you can. I thought Ms. Heath was representing you, so I apologize if that's not the case. Do you have something you want to say?
I just in our case, we've been on this house for going on 10 years now. We're a growing family. We are the smallest lot in the HOA. The lot to the east of us, 20 feet of that property was originally platted to our property. And so as a result, we're sort of constrained by our lot having been adjusted before we even took over ownership. We love our home, we love our neighborhood, and we are doing this in an effort to not have to move. And we want to tie the storage space into the house rather than doing something that will only be an eyesore, but is technically legal.
Why did you lose 20 feet of the platted lot?
I don't know why, but if you look at the original plat, our lot was 20 feet larger to the east.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Gall, you want us to hear?
No.
Okay. All right. Then Mr. White, let me hear from you and Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Ryan White. I'm an attorney. I represent Aaron and Patricia Lewis. Patricia is here with me today. Aaron Lewis hoped to attend, but he has patients who are depending on him, and he had to work. We've submitted 47 pages of photos and documentation we would like the board to consider before making a decision on this request. I would like the board to note that Aaron and Patricia Lewis object to this variance request and are requesting that it be denied. Madam Chair, with your permission, we'd like to proceed with testimony from Ms. Lewis, coupled with some exhibits, along with a brief argument from me.
Mr. White, how many photographs are there and what are they, please, before I consider any of those?
So to give you a history of the case, there was a 2014 variance, as noted, and that was granted prior to my clients purchasing their home. The build on as a result of that variance was not completed until after it was purchased, and the build resulted in surface runoff that we intend to demonstrate. It resulted in them having to remedy that problem, which is we're going to demonstrate that through the evidence as well, and the cost to them was over $40,000 out of their pocket, something that they didn't plan on doing and wouldn't have had to do had that build not occurred, and it was a direct result of that build, and that's what we intend to demonstrate today.
Okay, Mr. White, I think you missed my question. My question
Sorry.
was what do the photographs that you wish to have admit, what are they showing? I need to decide if I can admit them or not.
Understood. There is, do you want me to go through each photograph?
Just generally, no. I want to know, are they of the home and who took them?
There's a diagram of the neighborhood. There's photos of the home that were taken by my clients. There's some photos of the damage caused. There's some photos of the construction in process. There's invoices and some photos of the home as it sits within the last week or two, photos of both homes, things like that.
All right, I will admit those at this time, subject to some sort of clarification from the applicant and her representative. Go ahead.
All right.
And what have those been numbered as an exhibit in total as one exhibit, or are they individually numbered as exhibits?
I submitted it as one exhibit, and in each bottom right-hand corner, there's a bait stamp, and it says Lewis Exhibit 1 on the first page, going all the way to 47 on the last page.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I've compiled it. It'll be admitted as just Exhibit 10.
All right, Exhibit 10 will be admitted. Go ahead, Mr. White.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis, please introduce yourself to the chair and the board.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Lewis. I am.
Could you speak louder? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Hi there. I'm Patricia Lewis. I am the property owner directly east of the addition in subject.
And your address is?
814 West 54th Terrace.
And you're one door to the east of the subject property in this case?
Yes.
When did you purchase the home?
We purchased the home, or we moved in April 2015.
And at this point, we'd like the chair and the board to note that this was after the 2014 variance was granted. Ms. Lewis, had you owned the home at the time of the 2014 variance, would you have opposed it as you're opposing this one today?
Yes.
Okay. Anna, if we could please go to the first page of the exhibit, exhibit 10.
One second, I'm moving it around to the correct screens. This is the first photograph
That wouldn't be
that you
the,
sent me.
yes, I was looking for page 1. I was just going to go through page 1 through 47 in order. Thank you. So this is the affidavit that you submitted and executed, correct, Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
If we go to the next page, and this is continuation of that affidavit. Then now we're looking at Lewis Exhibit 3. If we could stay on Lewis Exhibit 3, please. Ms. Lewis, can you please tell the board what we're looking at here?
Yes, that's our neighborhood association, Loose Parks Homes Association. It consists of 57 single-family homes. The northern boundary is 52nd Street and extends south to 55th. As Anna pointed out, Summit is to our east and extends 1 block west to Bellevue.
And so you're on 54th Terrace, 2 doors down from Loose Park, correct?
Yes.
Anna, if we could please go to the next photo, thank you. So now we're looking at Lewis Exhibit page 4, correct? Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay, so this is is this photo after you purchased the home but prior to any build?
Yes.
Okay, what are we looking at here?
We're just looking at our backyard towards the northwest, looking at some mature trees on our property line, and the goal project from the 2014 variance had not begun.
How long had you lived there before they started work on the project resulting from the 2014 variance?
We, like I said, moved in the summer of 2015. We had that spring of 2015 in April. That spring, summer, and fall, there was no construction, and we had no problems with water drainage or stormwater runoff or erosion in our property. They began their project early in 2016.
Thank you. If we could please go to the next page, Anna. So what are we looking at here?
It's from the parcel tool online, just an overhead view of what our property looked like in 2014. And you can, where the box highlighted in yellow, and to the left or the east, there is no addition from the previous variance illustrated at this point.
Thank you. So if we could go to the next page, please. We're now looking at Lewis Exhibit page number 6. It looks like that's the from the overhead view from 2016.
Yes.
And then you can just it looks like there's some work you did on the pool. What was happening there?
Yep. So we are definitely the homeowners when this picture was taken. We resurfaced our pool at that time, just simply for cosmetic reasons. So I can assure that we are the homeowners at that time. And again, no project to the property to the west.
Okay. If we could go to the next page, please. And now we're looking at Lewis Exhibit page number 7, Exhibit 10, page 7, correct?
Yes.
And it looks like there's been some changes there, right?
Yes. So this shows the addition that was close to our property line that was granted the variance before we moved in. There's also a sport court towards the back of the property along the jointed property line.
Okay. And if we could go to the next page, please. Oh, and this is, and then page number 8 is just looks like a Google Maps photo of the same property, right?
Yes.
And that looks like that is after the work that you had to do on your home to remedy the problem, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can we go to the next page, please? And now we're looking at Lewis, page number 9 of Exhibit 10. Looks to be a topographical map, correct, Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
And you would agree that your property sits lower than the subject property in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay, next page, please. Okay, now we're looking at page number 10, correct?
Yes.
What are we looking at there?
Well, the summer of 2016 or in 2016, that's when we started experiencing extreme stormwater runoff, erosion, and flooding in our backyard. This picture was taken August 26th at 2016 at 10:09 p.m. And that is, we're looking at the northwest corner of our lot, adjacent to the new building structure.
And it looks like there's a reflection there. Is that the water that you were taking the picture of?
Yes, standing water.
Okay, can we go to the next page, please? What are we looking at here?
Again, standing water, this photo was taken on the same date. Water runoff and standing water in our backyard towards the northwest portion of our backyard.
Thank you. Next page, please. Again, that looks like more water runoff.
Yes.
And this is all after they began their build, correct?
Yes.
And when I say they, I'm referring to the subject property in this case, okay? Next page, please. Can you describe, is this more water runoff?
Yes, this is more water runoff, and it's just, again, another image, another date. This one was taken, let's see, where are we? Page 13.
This is page number 13.
Yep, another exhibit of the standing water.
Can we go to the next page, please? What are we looking at here on page 14?
We are looking at facing the north, part of our backyard. Towards the left is the west side of our property. You can see a lot of mud and erosion that has occurred in our backyard. This photo was taken August 6th of 2017.
Next page, please. Again, that'd be the same day, just a different angle.
Correct.
Of the damage we saw in the last photo, correct?
Yes.
Next page, please. What are we looking at here?
Well, we were trying to figure out what was going on with the water, and this was up against the property line, the old fencing, and it is like drainage and some pump coming just feet away from the fence line.
And so this is from your side of the fence looking west towards the subject property, correct?
Yes.
It looks like there's a pipe in this photo that is helping with drainage from their property onto your property, correct?
Yes.
And this is exhibit page number 16, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Chair, at this point, there's a video I would like to play, and it's a video of the water coming onto the property. I did not submit that. It's my understanding it would, there's a way for me to maybe share my screen and play the video.
Mr. White, I'm going to tell you, we have limited time for all cases today. If there is some way for you to shorten this and show us rather than going through every page, I think you're being rather repetitive. And so if you could shorten this up, the board would appreciate it.
Understood, Madam Chair. I will just represent to the board that we have a video of it's a sunny day and water is coming onto the property and it's not raining and it's coming directly from the subject property in this case. So if we could go back to the exhibits, I'll move this along, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And so these are some rocks. So these next couple pictures are they attempted to remedy the problem by putting gravel down, correct?
Yes.
And just a yes or no is fine on that.
Yes.
And did that work?
No.
Okay, can we go to the next slide? Okay, so as a result of this, you had to, you decided to take matters into your own hands, correct?
Yes.
So you decided to hire somebody to come in and help you fix the problem, correct?
Yes.
The first thing that you did was you had a survey done, right?
Yes.
And that you haven't been provided with a survey that's been completed by the Gulls in this case, correct? Are you aware of them doing a survey before they made this request?
I'm not aware.
Can we go to the next slide, please? And this, there I have highlighted $1,218.75. Is that how much it costs for you to do the survey?
Yes.
Can we go to the next page, please? This is the work being done on your home,
Correct.
and we can see the new addition on the Gall property there, correct?
Correct.
Next page, please.
You're gonna
Again,
have
this
to
is
slow down a minute. I understand you gotta get through fast, but you gotta slow down a bit.
Madam Court Reporter, I apologize. And this is another image with the new addition, correct?
Yes.
Okay, next page, please. And we're looking at a retaining wall that you had to put in.
Yes, and what I want to point out with this picture, we're facing northwest, and you can see the stake from the survey that we got. The retaining wall and fencing was set back on our property. Since we were taking 100% of the financial responsibility, we wanted to ensure that that was on our side of the property.
Thank you. And that's page 25. If we could go to the next page, please. Again, another view of the construction being done on page 26 here, correct? And that is the completed project on page 27?
Not including the landscaping, but the new retaining wall, draining or drainage to help with the water mitigation, and a new fence.
And there were some old trees that you had to tear down to do this project, correct?
Correct.
And you would hope to keep those trees, but you were unable to do that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If we could go to the next page, please. And so this looks to be the finished project with the new trees planted, correct?
Yes.
And that's and yet another angle on page 29.
Yes.
And I'm looking here, this looks to be an invoice from Urban Tree Specialist, correct?
Yes.
So that was $1,500 out of your pocket, correct?
Yes.
And that was to remove the trees?
Yes, in order to build a retaining wall and fencing, they had to remove 12 mature junipers.
If we go to the next page, please. And this looks to be from McLean Plumbing regarding a gas line. Why'd you have to move? You had to move a gas line in this case?
Yes.
Why is that?
Remove and replace a gas line for the project per code for the pool heater.
Okay, and that was a direct result of having to put this retaining wall in, correct?
Yes.
And next we're looking at an invoice from the Greensman, correct?
Yes.
And if we could zoom out a little bit on that, Anna, please. Here we go. Thank you. And this is an invoice from the Greensman, and the total down there says what?
$41,170.66.
And that was paid out of your pocket, you and your husband's pocket, correct?
Yes.
And that was all a result of remediation efforts regarding stormwater from the subject property in this case, correct?
Correct.
Okay, if we go to the next page, please. And so this is a view of the completed project on your side, as well as the addition from the Galls on page 33, correct?
Yes, and it also shows kind of the small area where they're wanting to put their storage unit between the existing home and the fence line.
And on the fence line there, you can see that you have trees and things, trees and landscaping there, correct?
Yes.
And are you concerned at all with with this new project, the effect it'll have on your current landscaping over there?
Yes.
What are your concerns?
Well, I think we'll show some pictures or whatever, but
We'll get to them, and we can scroll. Actually, we'll scroll down. We'll get the pictures of the landscape. Well, first of all, I want to stop at 36. So 36 is the proposed plan, right?
Yes.
For the subject property in this case. Would you agree that this structure they're proposing is going to be closer to your property line than the last one that caused you all of those problems?
Yes.
Next page, please.
I think that what's important about those pictures, it shows that we're obviously downhill from the galls.
Okay. And when you say the galls, you're referring to the subject property in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay, if we could scroll down, please. This would be, what are we looking at here?
So this is right, we're looking towards the west. This is our new fencing and retaining wall, and it's like this beautiful archway into our backyard or towards our back gate. We like to have people in our backyard and entertain, and it's just a beautiful, we call it like a enchanted garden where as they come and enter our back gate. And those are the trees that I'm concerned that they would not survive a potential 2-story structure so close to the property line.
And it looks like we could see the retraining with the wall that you put in to the right there.
Yes.
Okay. And that went all the way down your property line to the front of the house, correct?
170 linear feet.
Okay, very good. Next page, please.
And for the record, it worked. We are no longer having water issues.
And this is another view from the garden, and it looks at that looks to be the current structure of where the garage is on the Gall property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And next page, please. And it looks like there's some signs in the yard. Are there any signs giving notice of this hearing?
No.
Was this taken less than 15 days prior to the last hearing?
Yes.
Are there any signs in the yard giving notice of the hearing today?
No.
Okay, if we could, and the next several pages are just photos of the signage in the yard that was taken recently, less than 15 days prior to the last hearing. So Ms. Lewis, that we've gone through the photos here. Do you have anything else you would like the board to know before I make my argument?
Just a few things. I'll be respectful of everyone's time, but I certainly want to make sure we have everything covered. It's my understanding that zoning laws exist for safety and also perhaps fire prevention. My husband and I are concerned that a structure so close to our wood privacy fence would put either home at risk should a fire start. Both homes consist of wood shake siding, excuse me. We obviously talked about the stormwater runoff erosion issues which happened in the past, and we are very concerned that this will happen if this variance is granted.
You talked to an architect about that, correct?
We did talk to an architect about that. She unfortunately couldn't be here today, but she did, was happy to say that give an opinion that the increase in impervious area, as well as the required modifications to the grading for paving, will increase stormwater discharge onto your property, both during construction and after.
And did she talk about how somebody would be able to build a 2-story structure to less than 3 feet away from your property line?
Yes, and I think there was a little confusion on if it's 2-story or 1-story. I think the drawings that I saw on Compass KC is indicating it is a 2-story. I don't know if it's a phased approach, but yes, my architect friend said that in residential construction, it would be very difficult to build with 2 feet or 2.8 feet of clearance without trespassing on our property, and there's obviously a fence there.
And the architect's name is?
Harriet Grendel, and she's AIA Lead AP BD+C. She is licensed here in Missouri.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like the board to know before I make my final remarks?
Just a couple other things. We're not sure that our retaining wall that we invested in would be structurally sound with this new structure so close to it. We did mention about the environmental impact, also perhaps a loss of privacy if our trees are destroyed due to this project. We also, something important to point out is uniformity in regards to the neighborhood. We live in a very historic neighborhood. For example, our house was built in 1938. 3-car attached garages facing the street are not the norm in our neighborhood. The goal's desire for a 3rd-car garage is not required by code, but simply a personal preference so they can have more storage. I do want to add that I did notice on KC Compass, there was another neighbor in opposition. I had another neighbor share with me, Jeannie Mankey, that she was in opposition and she submitted that, but I didn't see it on KC Compass. Not sure if it got like hung up in email, but wanted to note that. And I do agree with the staff report.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
That's it.
Okay.
Mr. White, I'm going to give you about 3 more minutes.
That'll be more than enough.
Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, there is no need for this zoning variance. They've demonstrated no practical difficulties, unnecessary or undue hardships. Any difficulties they are having are generally applicable to other properties in the same zoning districts. In other words, it's not the topography or physical characteristics of the land that are causing these difficulties that they may be having. Any difficulties they are having are a result of their own actions. The stated purpose of this application is for variance is for non-livable storage. Basically, they want more room to keep their stuff in. Rather than securing off-site storage as a way for their difficulty to be obviated by some feasible method other than a variance, they're asking the board to allow a 1 or 2-story, we don't know, structure to be built closer to the property line than the last construction project, which caused my clients an issue that cost them over $40,000 out of their pocket to remedy. The staff report indicates negative stormwater externalities could occur on adjoining properties. We believe that the evidence we've presented here today prove that negative stormwater externalities will in fact occur. Nothing in their application states how they intend to build this structure without trespassing onto my client's property or cutting down their trees. There doesn't appear to be any survey completed. The plan lacks specificity. There's nothing that indicates how they're going to handle overhang, guttering, downspouts, and things like that. With that, we are asking you that the board deny this variance request and make specific findings that substantial justice would not be served by allowing this variance. An injustice would occur if this variance were allowed. If the variance, if allowed, would substantially interfere with the rights of others whose property would be affected by allowance of this zoning variance. And any hardships or difficulties that the subject property owner may be experiencing are the result of their own actions. And we finally request the board to find that the zoning variance is not consistent with all relevant purposes and intents of this zoning and development code. Madam Chair, members of the board, I appreciate your time. Madam Court Reporter, I apologize if I was talking too fast. Thank you. You all have a great rest of your day, and we request that this variance be denied.
Thank you, Mr. White. I'm going to turn back to the applicant. I don't know which of you wants to speak, but you get the last presentation for the board.
I will, if that's okay. So as for overall, we weren't approached with this being an issue. Or when I had talked to Anna at before our last hearing, it was the day before, she said that there was nothing on the application as for anyone stating that they had any opposing thing that had been, notarized and placed in. So we didn't know that there was any issues at this moment. If we could, we would like to see if we can get a continuance on this matter. And hopefully all parties could agree on both sides to see if we can redesign or relook at some of the storage needs that we have, or that Amy and Aaron Gall have with their home.
How long of a continuance are you asking for, ma'am?
We're hoping, I mean, hopefully by September, on the September, I think you have a September hearing.
We do.
And I don't know what the next one is. So I don't know if that's,
There's September 14th and October 12th, are our next 2 dates.
I believe our September 14th docket might be getting pretty heavy. So I'm just giving people fair warning about that. So.
Madam Chair,
well,
if I
then
may-
I'm sorry.
if October is okay, then I think, I don't know, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, Mr. Ebbets, did you have a question? No, he does not. Okay, all right. Mr. White, Ms. Lewis, October, you have any objections to that continuance timeframe?
No objection to that. I thought we were getting ready to set it for September, but October is what would be our request.
All right, board members, you have questions before we take up a motion for continuance? Hearing no questions, I would entertain the, I'm sorry, yes, Mr. White?
Madam Chair, I apologize. And we would request that, according to Ordinance 88-56505C requires a courtesy notice by posting signage in the yard. We would request that the subject property owner comply with that, because that hasn't been complied with.
We
as of-
tried to comply with that, and the city made us know that they were not doing those signs. We asked for one.
Yeah, due to COVID.
Yeah, Sarah, can you jump in?
Yeah, I believe those signs are not being posted, Mr. White, because of COVID. So that is really sort of a non-issue in my opinion, but Ms. Baxter can speak to that.
That's my understanding as well. I will say I am aware of individuals who've made their own signs and posted them in their yards, but as a city policy, the city is not providing those signs at this time.
Okay, all right. So any other questions? Otherwise, I need a motion to address the applicant's request for continuance.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Stiller.
I would move that case 96, be continued to the October 12th hearing.
I have a motion from Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Kelleher. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued till October 12th. We'll see you folks then. Hopefully you'll have a resolution. All right, thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Madam Chair, docket
Yeah.
item number 19, I
Yes.
believe those applicants are ready.
Okay, well then let's call that case. Let's go back to docket number 19, case number 89 with an address of 5318 Sunset Drive. Would you please raise your hand to be promoted? And Ms. Boley and Ms. Splitgerber, are you on this case?
No,
Okay, you're on the 21 one. Okay, all right, thank you. Trying to remember where you were. All right, Mr. Dix, are you here on this case?
I'm here.
Yes, could you state your name, please?
Steve Dix.
And would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Did anyone else get promoted on this case, or Mr. Dix, are you the sole person?
I'm the sole person I'm aware of.
Okay, is there anyone online at this time who's here to either support or oppose this request for variance? Seeing no hands raised, we will proceed. Mr. Dix, have you reviewed the staff report that was created as it relates to your request for variance?
I have.
On page 3 of that report, above Mr. Clement's signature, there are 9 items listed as administrative exhibits. Those are items connected with your application and matter today. Do you have any objection to my admitting those for the board to consider and review?
No objection.
Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Among those is the PowerPoint presentation. Jared, if you would please proceed, and then we'll have questions for Mr. Dix.
Fantastic. Thank you, Madam Chair. Before us, we have docket item number 19. This is case number 89 for 5318 Sunset Drive. The applicant is seeking approval of a rear yard setback variance. This is the location of the subject site. It's just to the west of Luce Park. This is a closer view of the subject site off of Ward Parkway. This is the site plan, which shows the home near the top of the screen, as well as the proposed screen porch and the open deck. The screen porch is why they need a variance. The open deck could be there regardless. These are the Missouri case factors to be considered. The variance is 10 feet into the 30-foot rear yard setback. A substantial change to the character of the neighborhood is not anticipated. The difficulty in this case could be obviated by a change in design. Staff has reviewed all zoning variance review criteria and finds this case to be in compliance. With that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Dix, why do you believe the board should grant the variance you're asking for?
The main issue is we're on a diagonal property line, and the porch is on the north side of the property, which is the short end of the property because of the diagonal nature of it. And so for us to build something that makes it a usable space, we need to extend out the 10 feet. If we don't have that, we probably would not move forward with the project. There's also, we submitted some pictures when we did the application, so you could see what's behind it. The house that's to the west of us, which is the property that backs up to our backyard, it is to the north. So there's really no structure behind us. So we don't think that going out 10 feet or getting close to property line would be a factor or a concern, because there's just there's no crowding of the property line. There's no risk of fire jump or any other concern you might have in place. And we think it allows us to build the porch in line with the character of the house and the neighborhood, and we think it improves the overall aesthetics of the neighborhood.
Jared, do we have a copy of those photographs? I don't see them with what's been admitted.
I'm happy to pull my screen up if that's helpful.
Well, if Jared has them, it would be easier for him to do it, but let me see if he's got them.
I believe they're attached to the staff report. Let me quickly pull them up.
I don't see them on mine, so I don't know. I didn't get the full set. Do other board members have those photographs?
Do not.
Okay.
I don't see it either. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not.
That's my mistake.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everyone. If you want to admit his exhibit, that would be fine.
Okay, so you want to that would be exhibit number 10, and that will be admitted.
Okay. Did that come up for you?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so here is the existing deck that's in place. So we would be extending out this way, which would take us to 20 feet from the property line, which is not compliance. You can see the house to the north of where the porch would be, and then you can see all the way to Ward Parkway from there. This is also a view of where it would be coming off to the side. And if you saw the drawings, we put an arch on the house like that, which is kind of in line with the design of the house. And then that's a picture off to the south.
And Mr. Dix, have you talked to the neighbor whose home we see in the first photograph?
This one right here?
Yes.
I have not talked to him about this project.
Okay, so you don't know his position on whether or not he or she has any objection?
I do not know.
Okay. All right, you can stop sharing your screen. Make sure that Jared has a copy of these so they can stay with our file.
Yeah, I'll send them to him right after we hang up here.
All right.
I do have a copy. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Board members, questions of the applicant? Any questions? All right. If you understand the
Wait, hold
Yep.
on here. So, Mr. Dix, is this going to be just a deck?
It's going to be a screened-in porch.
I want to look at this drawing just for a second.
So actually, it's a screen-in porch, Mr. Dix, with an open deck attached to it, correct?
Correct.
So where we see those where we see the outdoor lawn furniture sitting on top of the raised step. That's going to be the beginning of the screen porch. It's going to come out from there, and then L around the building, and the open deck will form part of the L, correct?
Correct. Actually, that decking that you saw would be inside the screen and porch. That would be covered. We'd just be extending it out. And the deck that is off to the right of that is actually in code, because that can go up to 20 feet to the property line. So the part that's out of scope or out of code is the actual screen and porch itself. That should only go to 30 feet within the property line, but we're asking to be able to go to 20 feet within the property line.
Okay, Mr. Ebbets, does that help? Okay. Any further questions? Comments? Then I would entertain a motion on this matter.
Madam Chair, in case number 89, I move the application be granted in accordance with staff report and site plan.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Gorentz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. Their request has been granted. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
All right, can we go back to 21? Did we ever get those applicants to show up?
Let me check.
Is it Hannah or Hannah? Or I'm not sure what the name of that is. Hold on a second.
I am not seeing anyone with that name on the attendee list.
Okay, I think rather than have Ms. Boley and Ms. Splitgerber be here any longer, I think this is the first time the board has heard this case. Is that correct on our docket?
Correct.
Okay, we typically, ladies, give someone at least a second chance to show up, and our last meeting was sort of long and we had to abbreviate it. So we'll probably give these folks one more chance to show up, and then we'll give them one more opportunity, okay? Because we didn't get to hear their case the last time. So that being said, we would continue it to the September hearing, I believe, if that's what the board makes a motion for, okay? All right, board members, do I have a motion on this matter, which is docket number 92, case number 21?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. And this matters continued to our September meeting of
September 14th.
14th. Yes, thank you, Anna. All right, now let's go back. I think we have 15 and 17. Let's go back to 15, please. Before we do that, is everyone fine? Anyone need a brief break? Okay, we're going to keep going then. Let's go to docket number 15, case number 80. The address is 4622 Pennsylvania Avenue. Please raise your hand if you're the applicant, as well as you're here in support or opposition of this matter.
We're admitting several people now.
Okay.
There's quite a few, so bear with us.
Okay, I'm having a computer screen issue here. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
I apologize. My screens are all frozen, so bear with me or I won't be able to see anything.
Well, you're fine. And we're admitting so many people. I'm not going to have a big enough screen for everybody. And when you talk, I'm going to need them to say who they are because the screen is so small, I can't read the name. There's so many of them.
Okay, give me 1 minute, see if I can fix this problem. Well.
Miss Splitberger, this is Mark Ebbets. You might have to sign off because we don't have enough screen space for everybody. I know you're on another case. You're welcome to watch on remotely, but we need you off the screen if that's okay.
And she actually just put a note about that. She doesn't know that she can depromote herself. I think city staff need to do that.
I resolved it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, computer solved. I am back with you. I can now read my reports. I apologize, folks.
So Madam Chair, you'll start with the applicants, Stephen Block.
Okay,
Steve.
let me grab, yeah, hold on a second. I grab a notebook so I can keep track of some folks, so I know who's who here. All right, so who's here on behalf of the applicant? If they could please state their name.
Yes, my name's Eric Pickett with Infinity Sign Systems. I'm the applicant.
Okay, Mr. Pickett, I'm still not even seeing you. This is going to be very difficult. Hold on a second.
Very difficult.
It's all right. All right. Okay, Eric, I now see you. Okay, so you're with Infinity Signs, okay?
Correct.
And you're here on behalf of Block Real Estate, correct?
Yes, and the restaurants of Cameron Mitchell.
Okay. Is there anyone else online with you today?
I have a team. Stephen Block and his team are on.
Okay, I'm sorry. And can each one of you, who's on your team, say their names for me, please, Mr. Pickett?
Stephen Block, Wayne Schick, Don Waller, Rexon.
Is it Rocks and Coke?
Rocks and Coke.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I believe that's all.
Okay. All right.
Tell if I'm in or not.
I'm sorry, who?
And this is Steve Block. I can't tell if oh, there I am up in the corner.
Yeah, no, Mr. Block, I see you. Yes, you're in. Yes. Okay. All right. Let me go through. So all of these people are here in some representative capacity for the applicant, or are they here all as support? That's what I'm trying to understand, Mr. Pickett.
Yes, as support, I am the applicant for the two signs in question. Stephen Block, of course, is the owner of the building. And then I believe he has some attorney representation, and then my two clients with the Cameron Mitchell Restaurant Group.
Ms. Cook, are you representing Mr. Block?
Yes, we are. We represent the property owner.
Okay.
All
right. All right. So let me just, all those people that Mr. Pickett just explained your position, I'm going to swear each of you in. So when I call your name, I want you to state your full name, and then I will you'll raise your right hand with me and we'll take the oath. All right. Mr. Pickett, we'll start with you. State your full name, please.
Eric Pickett.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Block, would you please state your full name for the record?
Stephen Block.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ms. Cook, would you state your name for the record?
Yeah, the other
Rocks
way.
and Coke. Sorry.
Okay.
Rocks and Coke.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Mr. Schick, would you state your name for the record?
Wayne Schick.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Mr.
And-
Wall, I'm sorry, Mr. Schick.
Don Waller's not on the call. Will
Okay.
not be on the call.
Okay, I'll take him off. That's one less person. Okay, I believe that's everyone that I have here from the applicant side then. Is there someone here in opposition?
Yes,
Okay, Ms. Jensen, are you leading this opposition group?
yes, I've got the organized panel. So I am Patricia Jensen with the Rouse Fretz Law Firm with offices located at 4510 Bellevue.
Okay, Ms. Jensen, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And Ms. Jensen, who is with your side today so I can swear them in and get their names for the court reporter?
Of course, we've got an organized group who are going to be presenting the testimony. The first will be Robert Martin. He is president of the Plaza Westport Neighborhood Association. You want to go to him first?
Yeah, that's right. Let's just do it that way. Mr. Martin, would you state your name for the record, please?
Robert Martin.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Who's next, Ms. Jensen?
Cliff Cowdy, he's president of the South Plaza Neighborhood Association.
Mr. Cloudy, could you turn on your microphone and camera, please?
My laptop does not have a camera, but I can.
Okay, can you state your name for the record?
Cliff Cowdy.
And would you raise your hand even though I can't see it and take the oath with me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Who's next, Ms. Jensen?
Matt Foucault, I believe I pronounced that right. He is president of the 46 Jefferson Homeowners Association.
Sir, would you state your name, please?
Matt Foucault.
Mr. Foucault, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And the last speaker, there are others on here, but they will, they can introduce themselves. But the last speaker is Carol Thrain. She is president of the 4646 Broadway Condo Association.
Ms. Thrain, would you state your full name and then I will swear you in?
Carol Thrain.
And would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. If there are other people online, I think what I will do at this point is I'm going to deal with the folks that we've just addressed. And then the rest of you, I will ask after the presentation to identify who you are, and we'll swear you in and get your name and your point of view at that point if you believe necessary. I will tell you if you're here in support or opposition. If you feel that the people presenting, both the applicant side and the opposition side, are doing a fine job, do not feel like you have to speak. Of course, we'll hear from you if you want to speak. And I can just take a roll call if you want to just acknowledge if you're here in further support or opposition so the board knows who's still here, okay? So on that instruction, let me start with Mr. Pickett and his side. Mr. Pickett, have you reviewed the staff report that has been created as it relates to this request for variances?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to the admission of the administrative exhibits that number 1 through 9 listed on the final page of the staff report?
No objections, Madam Chair.
Okay. Ms. Jensen, you have any objections on behalf of the oppositions? Okay. Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Anna, let's hear from you and your presentation, and then we'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So docket item number 15 focuses on 4622 Pennsylvania Avenue. This property is zoned UR. The UR plan associated with the site was approved back in 2014. The applicant is seeking approval of several sign variances, specifically for 2 projecting signs. The subject site is located in the Plaza area. This is a close-up of the property. It's highlighted in yellow in the surrounding area, west 47th Street, which is like the main corridor of the Country Club Plaza, is to the south. And on these opposite corners, we have a church and the building where the McCormick and Schmick's restaurant is located. This is a close-up of the applicant's submittal. You can see that some of the variance requests are highlighted in green. This is an additional graphic provided by the applicant, so you can see the scale of these signs in relation to the entire building. There's two signs in question, this prime social sign, and the bottom of the sign in the ground, there is about 22 feet of separation. And then for the ocean prime to the ground, there is around 33 feet. Oops, my apologies. The applicant also provided some renderings of the site. The additional renderings can be seen on Compass KC as Exhibit 10. This is a rendering so you can see the relation to the signs to a more sidewalk pedestrian angle. The specific variances in question for the first variance, variance A, the requirement in the code says there's only one projecting sign per building, and they are requesting 2. So it is a variance amount of 1 additional sign. Variance B is for the prime social sign, this sign. The requirement per code is 12 square feet in area for a projecting sign, and they are proposing 17.1 square feet, thus a variance of 5.1. For that same sign, the requirement is 4 feet of projection from the building. They are proposing 6 feet, which requires a variance amount of 2 feet. In an association with the Ocean Prime site, sign, my apologies. Again, the requirement for the max area of a sign is 12 square feet. They are proposing 56.3 square feet, which is a variance amount of 44.3 square feet. I believe the applicant has some additional photos of other signs in the plaza area that they're going to show with you, as well as the submittal from the opposing team. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Anna. Mr. Pickett, let's hear from your group first. Why do you believe the board should grant these 2 requested variances?
Absolutely. Given the location of the building, it's a 15-story office building, and it kind of rests upon a hill that's about a 35-degree slope or grade. And we believe these 2 tools, these 2 displays would be very effective in terms of helping traffic flow in the area and wayfinding, as well as to identify what doors to enter these fine restaurants at the building. We were mindful in the design of the signs. We kept them very tasteful and upscale, sophisticated. We didn't go garish on loud colors or crazy designs. The only thing that will illuminate on these displays is the white text, which is the name of the restaurants, and then the white border that's on each of the signs. The Prime Social being a traditional cigar label type shape, and then the Ocean Prime being a traditional vertical rectangular type shape.
Is anything further, Mr. Pickett?
No, but if you have any additional questions, I can expound on, the wayfinding and the traffic flow helpfulness, as well as relationship and size and the environment that these signs would be installed at.
All right. I would ask Anna, can you take this down so I can see people better in terms of dealing with people who have comments to make, and the board can see people better. Thank you. Mr. Pickett, so there are 2 restaurants that these signs are for, is that correct? They are distinct operations.
Yes, they are 2 distinct restaurants with separate addresses.
Okay. And why are wall signs allowed that could accomplish the same situation? Flat wall signs.
In this scenario, I think a projection sign is more apropos just due to the ingress into the building to the proper door to find each individual restaurant. Obviously, a projection mounted sign also is perpendicular to traffic flow, whereas a wall sign can generally only be seen in one direction.
Mr. Pickett, I've got a quick question. Mark Evans here.
Yes.
What would you say the distance between both entrances to the restaurants?
I would guess it's 8, maybe 66 feet.
So there's quite a bit of distance between each sign. It's not like they're sitting on top of one another. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And the 2D elevation is a little bit of a misrepresentation because you can't pick up the slope of the hill and the distance between the two signs, so to speak. So that's a very good point.
Are those going to be on timers, sir?
Yes, they can be on timers. And I know my client generally just operates the sign a certain amount of time after the restaurants close. I do not believe these signs will be on from dawn till dusk as many advertising displays are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pickett.
Sure.
So why do you think, I just want to understand this so the board understands it. Why do you believe a flat wall sign will not provide the same identification as a projecting sign?
Madam Chairman, if I may.
Sure, Mr. Block. I don't care who answers it. I just want to make sure the board understands it.
The street, Pennsylvania is a fairly narrow street. And on the opposite side of the street is another high-rise building. So basically those, if it were a flat wall sign, would only be visible to the people on the other sidewalk, if there were people on the other sidewalk. And it would not be visible to people who are on 47th Street, which is probably about 150 feet away. And, so people who are trying to find the restaurant, driving down 47th Street or coming up Pennsylvania from the rest of the plaza would not be able to see a flat wall sign.
Okay. All right. Other questions from board members of the applicant? All right, then I think we would like to hear from the opposition.
Sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Stiller.
I was slow on the draw on that mute button.
That's okay, go ahead.
I'd like to finish a previous question. You had mentioned that they would not be on 24/7. Do you have now hours that you could give us for each of the two signs when they would be operating?
Well, my best guess would be, of course, depending on, daylight savings time, that the signs will go on slightly before dark. And I would imagine that the restaurateur would want the signs off approximately an hour, hour and a half after closing time.
Wayne, can you speak to that?
Yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Wayne Schick. I'm with Cameron Mitchell Restaurants. We are the restaurant operator and owner for both properties. What we would typically do, and sometimes there's local ordinances that add into this as well, but what we typically do in a neighborhood setting is we would leave them on once the last. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I don't know who that was, but please don't interrupt.
Yeah.
Who was that? Go ahead, Mr. Schick.
Once the last guest leaves would be our standard operating procedure. So if the restaurant closes at 11, the last guest would leave at 12 or approximately 12 or 12:30, and we would turn the lights off then. We would not want to turn the lights off with guests in the building. We don't want to rush them out and make the place look like it's closed.
I understand that. So do you have set hours at this point?
I'd have to look them up, but I believe what we are planning on is through the week, we would close at 10 On Friday, Saturday, we would close at 11, and at Sunday, we would close either at 9 or 10.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions for the applicant side of this case from board members? All right. And so, okay. And finally, anything else from the applicants that we haven't heard?
Well, this
Yes.
is Roxanne. A couple of points that I think that are essential to make. Not only are we trying to make sure that the guests and to the restaurants are able to locate the restaurant. I think it's also a safety issue. Without having the protruding signs, it's going to be very difficult for the traffic. As Steve had mentioned, the narrowness of the street, the tallness of the buildings on either side. We have these conditions throughout the plaza. There are multiple signs similar to this throughout the plaza for the same exact purpose, and that is wayfinding and to ensure safety of pedestrians and traffic as they are looking and viewing, trying to figure out where they're trying to go within and around the plaza. And again, there are images, that show various other restaurants having similar signage and multiple signage that exceed the standard sign limits. So I think that that's something that to certainly take into consideration. I mean, without having these protruding signs, it would be not only a hardship to the restaurant and to their customers, but it would also be a hardship to others traveling in and around the plaza, and the safety of those people and pedestrians walking through the plaza. So something to consider as you continue to review this. The amount that's being requested, I think, is the minimum amount that's necessary in order to preserve the safety of the pedestrians and traffic in and along the plaza. And again, I think that it would be, again, this is consistent, I think, with the environs within the plaza. And it is also, I think, again, overall, within the overall intent of what the sign limits of our ordinance are trying to accomplish, especially when you take into consideration the relative size of these signs in comparison to the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Koch. All right, then Ms. Jensen, let's hear from your side, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Again, my name is Patricia Jensen. And I want to first take a step back because your staff report doesn't highlight the actual factors to be considered. All it does is list the review criteria. So in the zoning ordinance, following the review criteria section, there is section 88565-08, which has been admitted as part of your administrative exhibits. And it says that in acting on requested zoning variances, the Board of Zoning Adjustment must also consider the following factors.
Slow down a little bit. You are reading extremely fast.
Sorry, I'll slow down. A is whether the practical difficulty, because this is a non-use variance, is the result of actions of the property owner or applicant, their agent, employee, or contractor. B is whether granting the requested zoning variance will result in advantages or special privileges to the applicant or property owner that this zoning and development code denies to other land structures or uses in the same district. C is whether the requested variance is the minimum zoning variance necessary to provide relief. And D is whether the zoning variance, if allowed, will substantially interfere with or injure the rights of others whose property would be affected by the allowance of the zoning variance. And then finally, E is whether the zoning variance is being requested due to an intentional violation of the zoning and development code. The speakers are going to speak to those points. I would also, and the case law, the Missouri case law states on non-use variances, and this is a case entitled Baumer versus City of Jennings, 247 Southwest 105, page 105, which was decided by the appellate court in 2008. At the very least, the person seeking a non-use variance must demonstrate that as a practical matter, the property cannot be used for a permitted use without coming into conflict with the restrictions contained. I believe the building's built. It's not a matter of not being able to have the permitted use. I'm going to highlight a couple things in the staff report that seem to be in conflict with some things. Your staff report on page, I believe this is the second page, and in a couple of areas states that in response to the question, will a substantial change be produced in the neighborhood character or substantial detriment be created to the adjoining properties? The staff report says, no, the site is not within the central Country Club Plaza area. I don't know what that means. I believe it's very much part of the Plaza area. If the staff report is referring to the Plaza Overlay Zoning District that covers a number of properties within the Country Club Plaza area, that's true. It is not within the Plaza Overlay Zoning District, but it's not within it because the applicant had a substantial role in drawing the boundaries of the Plaza Overlay Zoning District. And then the staff report also says, no visibility on the question, can the difficulty be obviated by some feasible method other than a variance? And it states, no, visibility of the site from 47th Street is unique due to the topography. Well, that's completely opposite the testimony and evidence in front of you. That building is 15 feet tall. It towers over the church that's located to the south of it. So it is fully visible. People certainly can find their way to that building without the additional signs that they claim that they need. It would be one thing if that building was lower in topography from 47th Street, but it rises in topography and everything is visible. I don't think the people here have an objection to variance. I believe it's titled C, which is having the projecting sign coming out 6 feet rather than 4. We have a big objection to the size of the projecting sign variances, because if you add up the two projecting signs together, that area exceeds 5 times the allowed amount under the code. You're allowed 12 square feet for a projecting sign, and you're allowed 1 projecting sign. I don't believe that any of the projecting signs in the plaza required a variance. I drove the plaza this morning to look at the projecting signs that were located, and nothing that I could see exceeded the 12 square feet in size. So we believe that their property is much the same as all the other properties that are located along the side streets of the Country Club Plaza. With that, Robert.
Hi there. I'm Robert Martin. I'm the president of the Plaza Westport Neighborhood Association, and I'm here to represent our constituents. We are working with other neighborhood organizations to try to reduce light pollution and clutter around the plaza. So that's why we're here. Anna, I will have those pictures. I'll need those pictures put up that I sent you at some point. Do you want me to share my screen, or is Anna going to do that?
One moment.
Teresa, you're muted.
Anna, do you have them marked as an exhibit?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. So my question is Anna, are those marked as an exhibit, and how many are there?
It will be 11 or 12, excuse me, 12. They're already up on Compass.
And are they marked as an exhibit?
And there's 4, yes.
So what exhibit number would they be?
12.
Okay. Mr. Pickett, Ms. Koch, any objection to these being entered as exhibit 12?
No, Madam Speaker.
Who answered that?
That was Mr. Pickett.
And no objection here either.
Thank you, Ms. Koch. All right, exhibit 12 will be admitted. Mr. Martin, you may
Okay.
share those, or Anna can share those with the board.
Okay. Great. So I'll go ahead and talk to you, Anna. Those pictures, that's a printed copy. I have a digital copy on my computer if you want to look at it. But I will go ahead and narrate. You should know that the neighborhood organizations contacted the block organization because we worked with the block organization in the past collaboratively. We arranged a meeting last August 5th so we could inform them of our opposition. And in that call, we reiterated our desire for them to continue this matter for 30 days until the September BZA. They said that preparing for the August hearing, they would work to reduce the variances further and get back to us, but that did not happen. But I should say that we are still willing to work toward a collaborative resolution. We oppose variance requests A, B, and D. Our constituents want you to know that an increase in the number of signs and their dimension will add to the egregious projection of light pollution and clutter that this building already projects into the neighborhood businesses and residences. And this is detrimental to their quality of life and property. Let's take up variance request A. That is the increase of signs when only one sign is allowed on the side of a building. I have several points. The purpose of the city code limitation is ignored in the presentation. City code limits to one sign per building wall. That limitation has a purpose, which is completely ignored by the applicant in their rationale. They have not argued why the city's rationale of that requirement should be disregarded, and why the addition of a sign does not violate the purpose of the requirement. My second point, that to allow this variance sets a precedent that is detrimental to residences and businesses on the plaza. Allowing more signs on the side of a building establishes a precedent for adding more clutter to the streetscape. If we allow one more sign, why wouldn't we allow 2 or 3 or 4? Not only new developments, but existing buildings would want to add signs to advertise the various activities in their buildings. If I were a business owner on the plaza, that's exactly what I would want to do if given the opportunity and if the precedent is set. Third point, special treatment. There will be many tenants in 46 Penn Center. The applicant has not argued why this tenant should get special treatment or why this type of tenant should be afforded 2 rather than 1 sign. If this tenant is allowed a variance, why not allow other tenants the same privilege? Other tenants in other buildings the same privilege? Granting this tenant a variance that no other tenant is allowed will result in advantages or special privileges to the applicant that the city code denies to others in the same district. Fourth point, minimum variance. One of the factors to be considered for approval is that the variance requested is the minimum necessary. This has not been argued or demonstrated at all. Variance requests B and D. Variance request B is to add 5.1 square feet to the maximum area of one sign. Variance D asks to balloon the sign size nearly 5 times the code maximum. So several points here. On a building that is already projecting a lot of light pollution into the area, increasing the size of lighted signs will add to the light pollution and clutter on the plaza, which is injurious to other offices and residents. And second point, approval of these variances will either grant advantages to the applicant that are denied to others, or it will set a precedent by which other developers and building operators will use to increase their sign allowance. Both of these outcomes are contrary to the rationale and purpose of the zoning code. My third point, the rationale for the variance does not make practical sense. And so on it, if you, so the screen is shared. That's the first page. You see the light of that building projected into the neighborhood in comparison to the holiday lighting. And this was back in December 2020 that this picture was taken. 46 Penn Center is a very large building for the plaza. It's built to the maximum area possible on a very narrow street, sitting way off to the north of 47th Street, right across the street from another very large building, the Lockton Building. Furthermore, because the sign placement is at the north end of the building, away from 47th Street, visibility from the east or west along 47th Street will be cut severely, obviously, and the applicant has made this argument. But that is true no matter how large the signs are, and that's our point. To increase the size of the signs does not make any difference as to how the signs will be viewed from 47th Street. Now, signs are visible on Pennsylvania Street, which goes north and south. Increasing the size of the sign over what the code allows will not change the visibility of those signs north and south. They will still continue to be visible. If the signs are blocked east and west by both buildings, and if the signs are only visible from the north and south, Anna, could you go to the third picture? There you go, one more, that's it. So that's from 46th Street looking northward. And then Anna, you can go to the next one, and that's our final. I would bring your attention to the lights at the street level that fully illumine the street. There is no issue for safety for pedestrians on that side of the street. But when you look at the building at night, you have to ask yourself, what is the hidden reason that they want larger signs and more signs? And it seems reasonable to speculate that it's because of the bright lights already on the south side of the building. If there weren't such bright and flashy lighting on the south side and such bright pathway lights on the east side, regular sized signs would be readily visible. The light pollution emitting from the building itself, we argue, creates the very problem for which they need variances. Lastly, the applicant once again has not demonstrated how the variance requests are for the minimum necessary. Okay. So in summary, we've demonstrated the applicant has not made a case why the variances do not violate the intention and purpose of the code. They've not demonstrated how these requests are for the least possible variances needed. They've not demonstrated that the variances are for any other reason than simply to make the signs more noticeable. In short, they've not satisfied the requirements of city code for allowing variances. Approving the variances will either grant special privileges to the applicant, or it will establish a precedent that will encourage even more clutter and light pollution in the plaza. We respectfully urge the board to rule against variances A, B, and D. Thank you. And now I'll turn to Cliff Cowdy.
I'm Cliff Cowdy. president of the South Plaza Neighborhood Association, and we get to see that building from our side of the plaza looking northward. The South Plaza Neighborhood Association is aligned with the Plaza Westport Neighborhood Association in opposition to the requested variances A, B, and D. At our South Plaza General Quarterly Meeting on 7/18/21, I requested a vote to approve or disapprove of these city code variations in question. The vote was unanimous in opposition of any variances to these city codes. We South Plaza residents are very excited to welcome Ocean Prime to our beloved district, though we do not see the need to change any city codes, especially on a building that is already projecting too much light pollution into the plaza area and will clash with the holiday lights throughout our beloved plaza. Thank you.
The next speaker is, sorry, I lost my thing. Matt. Matt?
There we go. Sorry, was dealing with the delayed mute, similar to board member Stiller there. Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for letting us talk today. I will be brief. I believe Robert and Cliff touched on all the key points that we are trying to make. My purpose here today is to talk a little bit about precedents, as well as the standing of the 46 Jefferson Association. It was mentioned previously that, this isn't quite the plaza or whatnot, but, our property was provided the notice. This building is in the Plaza Westport Neighborhood Association, so we do have significant input and opinion on the matter. But we're really concerned about future precedents regarding the increased amount of sign clutter throughout the neighborhood, especially with the special UR designation that the applicant was able to achieve surrounding his property, because the UR does have different sets of rules, and we are concerned with the UR zoning that's in progress for 46th and Jefferson, the southwest corner of that. That large lot is also zoned as UR. So having multiple signs that protrude from a building in a heart of a neighborhood really is not ideal for those that live here. And, it was mentioned that these signs are all along the plaza. Well, that is true. The signs are all along the plaza. If you look on 47th Street specifically, there are building protruding signs. And to my untrained eye, they are smaller signs. They all appear to be the smaller, round, protruding signs that meet the code of 12 square feet. So we did do a search in Compass and could not find any existing variances for larger signs. A similar sign would be the wine bar restaurant. It used to be that Mexican restaurant there. And that sign is also smaller than what the applicant is asking for and does not have a variance on file that we could find either. So, we believe that we should have a significant say in this matter, given that this is our neighborhood and that we are greatly concerned. I think Madam Chair at the last meeting talked a little bit about signs and mentioning that we just can't approve signs everywhere. And I would certainly agree with that sentiment. So we request that you deny these variances. Thank you.
And then the final speaker is Carol Thrain.
Yes, Carol Thrain, 4646 Broadway. I want to just highlight a few things that have been mentioned. I think it's interesting that the applicant submitted a picture during the day when actually the impact is at night when the whole building is illuminated. So for me, we cannot isolate the variance just to signage. We have to look at the building in its full context. And the picture submitted did not have the large TV screen that's at the top of the building lit up along with the other kind of changing color lights. So if you want the cumulative effect for residents who are there throughout the evening, you'd have to see the lit signs in combination with the exterior lighting, both, and I agree with Robert, the lights that go along Pennsylvania are very bright and seen from the 12th floor of our building all night long because they're not actually covered. So they totally illuminate the street. The safety argument, I think, is void. So I think we need to consider it in cumulative effect, consider it in context. I don't see a compelling reason for the excessive size because I agree. The only way you see them is if you're looking up from the plaza, and the building has great height and great visibility. So I don't think they've made the case, and we would also oppose the 3 variances that have been suggested. Thank you.
Ms. Jensen, do you have, go ahead. I'm sorry, do you have another speaker yet?
No, we don't have any other speakers. I just neglected to tell you what has been permitted on signs for that building that I think is good for your information. So on that south elevation where you were asking, why can't you put a wall sign up there? There have been 3 permitted signs on the south elevation, and you saw them as you've seen pictures. One is for RSM, which was 33.3 square feet. One is for Crossed First, which is 208 square feet. And one is a block real estate sign, which is 30 square feet. Certainly you could put signage up on the south elevation if you remove the block real estate sign, which simply advertises the building for tenants, and include signage for both Ocean Prime and the other tenant. But as we've stated, we do not believe that the evidence that's in front of you justifies the granting of the variance and supports it at all. We would request that you deny the A, B, and D variance requests.
Okay, I have a question for both sides. I want to specifically look at variance request A. I want you each to explain to me why section 88-565-02-B.6 doesn't disallow this board from acting on that variance. I believe that section tells the BZA that we do not have the right to grant a variance to the number or type of sign. So how does the board have jurisdiction to address variance A? Ms. Koch, since you're the lawyer on that side, I'm going to start with you.
Can you repeat your reference again, Chairman?
Yes, I can. And I was trying to do it slow, and I'll do it again. I want you to look at section 88-565-02-B.6. My reading of that section appears to say that this board does not have jurisdiction to grant variances to the number or type of signs allowed. So if that's the case, I don't believe this board has jurisdiction to grant number A. Can you tell me why I'm wrong?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot get to that section number. Does anybody have that they can send that to me so I can see that?
Can anybody on the city pull that up so the board can see it as well? Can Anna or someone share that ordinance section, please? Okay, there it is. May not be used. See, read that section and you tell me why the board has the authority to grant variance A. Number 6 says very clearly, this procedure cannot be used to vary the type or number of signs allowed. I believe A is not within this board's jurisdiction. I'm one board member, but I want to have you to have a fair opportunity to convince me one way or another.
Madam Chair, I agree with you. I mean, it's the type, which is a projecting sign, and it's the number. And the code clearly states one projecting sign per elevation.
Well, and I'm gonna, at this point, gonna ask the city Sarah Baxter to address that. I mean, we have, there have been other times when the city has come before the BZA for variance with regard to type, size of signs and number of signs. So we have various buildings in and around the plaza, and we have pictures to show that there are numerous buildings in and around the plaza that have multiple protruding signs. Perhaps Sarah can address the intention of that language in the code, because I would assume that if it was not allowed, staff would have not allowed this application to go forward.
Well, and she can, but just because someone asks for it doesn't mean that staff will stop you. I mean, and I'm asking you fairly. I'm looking at this case because, as you all know, I'm a strong proponent to how many signs do we need, and let's be reasonable about that. So when I read this, I'm concerned that this board has jurisdiction to handle this case and maybe other cases. So Sarah, if you answer, you may.
Yeah, I mean, I question whether the board would have jurisdiction to grant variance A. I can't speak to what has happened in the past. I can't speak to whether perhaps, staff did not catch certain applications. I don't know of any examples, so I'd be willing to look at those, but that language is pretty clear to me that variance A could not be granted by the board.
And Ms. Koch, I understand if you're concerned about this, and I know this is important to your client, right? And so if you wish to, cite to me any other reference that would give us jurisdiction, I want to hear it.
Well, and I have not had an opportunity to take a look at that particular section that you're noting at this point and review the code in its entirety. If the board is inclined not to grant that, we would ask for, I think, a continuance to your next board meeting. So we'll take a look and we'll meet with staff and further discuss it with the city attorney's office. But these have been granted numerous occasions in the past. It's our understanding. And one of the things I think, just to give you an opportunity now to take a look at, just in terms of overall size and the reason for the signs. We have multiple tenants, and as you note, in various buildings in and around the plaza, where it's one building with multiple tenants, there are multiple protruding signs provided for the various tenants. The signs are sized relative to the size of the building. Cooper Hawks is a perfect example, and we have pictures to indicate that. I think that would be helpful to, at this time, to at least be able to provide additional information to this board as it's even reviewing either or in terms of the type of sign.
Well, I guess I'm going to ask at this point. I mean, this to me is a serious jurisdictional issue. And I think if we don't get past this issue, Ms. Koch, the rest of the variances are connected to this application. So maybe I'm raising something, and I've been on this board a long time. I don't remember if Cooper's Hawk was created before the current zoning ordinance and if there was some change. So I can't remember. That's what happens when you've been on a board since 1996. Things have changed, so I'm trying to remember. But I've been trying to look at these sign cases because I want to be fair and I want to do what the board is supposed to do. I've taken my job fairly serious. I think most people on this panel know that about me. So I just want to make sure the board is doing what it should be doing and following the ordinances. So if you want a continuance, I, for one board member, would vote for that probably, because I think this is a pretty serious situation that we need to resolve. Do other board members have any comments about this concern?
Well,
Chairman Otto, Mark Ebbets here. Excuse me, Chairman Otto, Mark Ebbets here. So I feel, Chairman Otto, that this board has granted sign cases, especially downtown, multiples on one building. Also, with respect to both Mr. Martin, Miss Carol Thrain and Mr. Fuco, I want to say that the case before us today is the signs, not the building. And I keep hearing South Plaza doesn't like all the lights facing it. Well, but we're here for the two signs. We really are. So I'm not sure what your intent is to bring back all these other items when really our intent is the two signs. That said, I do support Chairman Otto's consideration that both Ms. Koch and maybe Ms. Jensen come back to us and tell us why we shouldn't be supporting that. And maybe again with Ms. Baxter as well. I just feel like we've given these sign variances.
All right. Mr. Kelleher, did you wish to speak? I'm sorry, I thought I saw you come forward.
Yes, my sentiments are pretty much the same as everybody else's. And in that regard, I would move this case be continued until September 14th.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
A second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to September 14th. Folks, we'll see you then. Roxanne and Patricia, please look at this issue closely. I think the board needs some guidance because I have a feeling we may have been creating some issues for ourselves and not interpreting this ordinance correctly. And I want to make sure the board's going forward doing that. So thank you.
Certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe we have one additional item on the board's docket today. That's a case, at least. I think we have some other issues we'll take up at the end of the hearing that are administrative. But I believe our next case is item number 17. Case number
30.
Case number 85 with an address of 4935 Bell Street. If you would please raise your hand to be promoted if you're here on this case, either the applicant or here in support or opposition. I understand there's quite a few people here on this case, so I will slowly try to sort through who everyone is.
Madam Chair, would you like me to admit them one at a time?
Well,
so you can take note of them and then.
Yes, and I'm going to offer to my board members, if you need to step away while I try to organize this with the court reporter, you may do that, I guess. Is that all right? If you want to take a break, because this is going to take a minute, or maybe let's do this. Let's go off the record, Lori. What I'm going to do, Anna, is have people so we can figure this out and I can get a list of names. How about that? So okay. folks, bear with us. Board members, if you want to take a rest break at this time, I'm going to try to organize this very large group of people because on Zoom, this is going to be quite difficult. So if you want to take a break, I'll come back, listen for us. Okay. All right. So Anna, if you can help me.
So we have Susan McDaniel and she is the applicant.
Okay.
I'm promoting her right now.
All right. I'm just going to make names of who they are. Okay. So Ms. McDaniel is the applicant. Okay.
Correct. So now I have Colin and Kate Hayes.
Hold on. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, are you here in support or opposition?
It might take them a little bit to with their audio.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, are you here in support or opposition?
We're here in opposition.
Okay, thank you. You can go black for a minute. I'll call you back up. I'm just getting a list of names. Okay.
Now we have Betty James.
Ms. James, can you hear me? Ms. James, can you hear me? Ms. James, I think you're muted.
No, I can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you. Are you here in support or opposition, Ms. James?
Opposition.
Thank you. Who's next, Anna?
We have a Barb Jolliffe. They have been promoted.
Ms. Jolliffe, can you hear me? Can you turn on your microphone, please?
I'm here. I'm sorry. My name is Barbara Jolliffe.
Okay, Ms. Jolliffe, are you here in opposition or support?
Support.
Okay, thank you. We'll get to you in a minute. Okay.
We have an Abby Oliver.
Okay. Ms. Oliver, can you turn on your microphone at least so I can, there you are. Are you here, Ms. Oliver, are you here in support or opposition?
In support.
Thank you. Who's next?
We have an Ellen Gobble.
Ms. Gobble, I can't see you. Oh, there you are. Ms. Gobble, can you turn on your microphone, please?
There.
Okay, I can hear you. Okay.
I'm here in support.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right. Who else?
Ann Shields.
Ms. Shields, can you hear me? Ms. Shields, can you turn on your microphone? Lori, if you can see her, can you see the spelling of her name is S-H, it's S-T-H-L-E-I-H-S. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm making notes as we go.
Okay,
But I'd
that's
like
what.
to take a potty break before we start again.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll give you a break. Okay. Shields, I still can't hear you. Can you turn on your microphone?
Just tap your space bar, Ms. Shields. It'll turn it on for just a second.
Okay, we're going to keep going.
We also have a Deanne Boardman. Deanna, my apologies.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Boardman, can you turn on your microphone? Ms. Boardman, can you turn on your microphone?
Trying. Can you hear me now?
I can now. Yes, ma'am, I can. Are you here? Are you in support or opposition?
Support.
Okay, thank you.
We have a Kirk Gastinger. I'm so sorry about my pronunciation of names.
Mr. Gastinger, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Yes, I'm here in opposition.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
And a Michael Taylor.
Okay.
Michelle. Michael. Sorry.
It looks like it's Michael.
Michael, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it says. We'll see if that's correct. Mr. Taylor, can you turn on your microphone? Mr. Taylor, can you turn on your microphone? Can you tap the space bar?
Is my microphone on now?
It is now, sir. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Are you here?
Fantastic.
Are you here in support or opposition?
I am in here. I'm here in support.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right.
Now we have a Merritt Neal, but his icon says MNC.
Okay. Whoever. Okay. Whoever is MNC, can you turn on your microphone?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, and your name is, please?
Merritt Neal.
And how do you spell that? Just so something we don't have a spelling on your box.
Oh, yeah, it's Merritt, last name Neal, Neil.
Okay. All right. It would be helpful if you could change your designation so the court reporter clearly will know who you are when you speak. Thank you, Ms. Neal. All right. I see someone called J. Duddy 72.
That's our investigator, James Duddy.
Okay, thank you.
So
I wanted
he's
to make
staff.
sure. Okay, I got it. Thank you, Mr. Duddy. All right. And
James who?
Duddy.
Duddy, D-U-D-D-Y?
Yes, correct. And then
there's also a Dick, last name beginning with an N.
Okay.
And then I think we maybe have the Ann Shields logged in again.
Yeah, I
So
don't.
I'm going to promote them.
Okay, all right. Who just missed, is it, you said it said Dick N, who is?
Correct.
Okay, are you on? Can you hear me, sir? Sir or madam, if your icon says Dick N, can you please turn on your microphone and tell me who you are? Again, I think you tap your space bar or hit your icon at the bottom, the mute icon.
We also have a Susan Kane.
Okay. Ms. Shields, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
Ms. Shields, are you here in support or opposition?
Support of Suzanne.
Thank you.
Hear me now?
I can, sir. What is your name?
Dick Nelson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Are you here in support or opposition?
Support.
Thank you. And Ms. Neal, I'm sorry, were you here in support or opposition? I forgot to write that down. I'm making notes and I forgot that. Did you say you were support, Ms. Neal, Merritt Neal, support or opposition? Support?
Support, yes.
Thank you. All right, and then you said, oh, Susan, Ms. Kane, can you hear me?
I can.
And are you here in support or opposition?
Support.
Okay. Okay, have I called everyone's name that has been promoted and interested in this case? If I've not spoken with you and got your name, please turn on your microphone and tell me your name.
No one else is raising their hand.
Okay. Ms. Court Reporter, take your break, please, okay? And so everyone,
I promise.
okay, you're fine. Everyone online, please remain muted and we'll get started here in just a minute. I see a number of people still in attendance in the attendee section. I'm assuming if you have not raised your hand, you're not interested in this case, you're just interested in general listening. So at this time, we will not promote you unless you raise your hand. Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm also going to step away for a brief moment.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll get started here as soon as everyone else gets back. Okay, and I'll say this under when we get, if everyone is still listening to me, I'm just going to try to clarify this before we get started. If you're going to speak in this case, we will start with the applicant, and then I'll ask for support of the applicant. Then I will go to the opposition. Before anyone speaks for the first time, I will need your name stated for the record, and I will need to swear you in, okay? Once I've done that, you can continue to talk after I recognize you first. So no speaking over top of each other because the court reporter cannot take that down with this large group. I really ask for respect, which most people give us. I'm just asking for that with the large number. So I will do my best because I'm going to have to scan between two different screens to see everybody. So if I don't hear you, please be patient and I will ask to make sure we get everybody, okay?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Nelson.
tell me how to change my name.
Let's see. How do you do that? You go up to, you scroll over your picture, I think, isn't that right? And there's like 3 little dots, isn't it? There you do it.
Yes.
And you can change, you rename. You learn something new every day with this stuff.
Yes, you are correct. That is how
Thank
you
you.
fix it.
Okay.
And fair warning, my screen, even though I have a big monitor, is not big enough for all these people.
No,
I off.
that's okay, Lori. And when you stepped away, I explained to them that I actually have to scan through I have to scan one way or the other to see everybody. So I will try to be as conscientious about this as I can and letting everybody speak, but I want to try to be as organized as we can, okay?
Yeah, if everybody can just say their name before they speak, that would just make everything easy for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, is everybody back or all the board members back? I can't tell. I see Randy, I see Mike, I see Tom Stiller, I see Tom Gorentz, I see Am I missing Mr. Ebbets? I see Mr. Ebbets. Okay. And I see Mr. Banuki, are you back? Yes, okay. Then I think I have everybody. All right, let's get back on the record. Anna, are you back? She's not back yet.
She just walked back to her desk. She will
Okay,
be
I was gonna say,
rolling
all
up
right.
shortly.
That's fine, no problem. There's certain people I have to have before we can proceed, and she would be one of them, so.
Excuse me.
Oh, there's Susan. I was looking for the applicant. I have found, it really is like trying to guess where the Brady Bunch person went, so sorry. These large cases is when I miss doing this in person. If it's just a couple people, it is not hard, but this is not, this technology doesn't make this an easy large case platform.
Okay.
Anna, are you ready?
Yep, I'm
Are you-
back. I just
Okay,
needed to grab some water.
I understand. Okay, Madam Court Reporter, are you ready? Okay, thank you. Let's go back on the record. We are now going to docket item 17 with a case number of 4935 Bell Street. And I would like the applicant to state her name for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Suzanne McDaniel.
Okay, Ms. McDaniel, would you raise your right hand to be sworn in with me?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. McDaniel, have you reviewed the staff report that is connected with your application today? And do you have any objection to my admitting the administrative exhibits that are found on the second page of the report, just above Anna's name, numbering 1 through 12?
I have no problem with that.
Okay, those 12 exhibits will be admitted. And among those are a presentation. And Anna, will you give that, please? And then we'll start hearing from the applicant and the other folks that are here with us today.
Thank you.
One second.
And Anna, before you start, I would just
Yes.
remind everyone, while you're not speaking, could you put yourself on mute if you would, because background noises will make it more difficult for the court reporter to pick up what people are saying. So if you could mute yourself unless you're speaking, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Docket item number 17 focuses on 4935 Bell Street. This property is zoned R6, and this is an appeal of determinations. The subject site is in the West Plaza neighborhood. This is the subject site. It is highlighted in yellow. You can see state line to the west. It runs north-south, Bell Street and Wyoming Street. So the subject site is in the middle of an established neighborhood. This is a highlighted portion of the code in which the investigator based their determination on. In the home occupation section of the zoning and development code, it states that annual grooming, care, and boarding are a prohibited home occupation. Some key points surrounding this site are on the screen. The city staff inspected the site after a complaint was filed, and due to the nature of the non-conforming home occupation use, a notice of violation was sent. Pictures of the subject property are currently on the screen, and James Duddy, our investigator, is also online and can answer any questions as well. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Duddy, let's start with you before we hear from the applicant. Could you please describe for the board what evidence you found of this home occupation and why the violation was issued, please? Mr. Duddy, can you hear me?
Yes, my computer was giving me a little bit of difficulty.
Okay, and Mr. Duddy, have we sworn you in today?
No, you have not.
Okay, would you state your full name for the record?
James William Duddy.
And would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
It was complaint generated through the 311 Action Center. Went to the site, met with the next door neighbors. They did state that the property was being used as an animal boarding house. Reviewed the property. The property owner was not home at the time. Reviewed the site, did not find animals at the time, but then did have a conversation with Ms. Mcdaniel, and she did state to me that she is operating an animal boarding house. Notices of violation were sent.
So, Mr. Duddy, did you observe animals on property? I just want to understand exactly what you found.
No, I did not.
Okay, okay. You just have an admission from the applicant that she was in fact doing that.
I do have admission, and then also she does on social media. She does have advertisements for the business at the residence.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Duddy, in your investigation?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Board members have any questions for Mr. Duddy? Okay. Then let's go to Ms. Mcdaniel. Ms. McDaniel,
Yes.
why do you believe that the city's determination is incorrect and should be overturned?
I have a prepared statement that I'd like to read.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. I want to thank you for hearing me today. 26 years ago, when buying my first home, I looked nowhere else than Westwood Park. I love this neighborhood. I love my home. And I love the fact that this is very much a dog-friendly neighborhood. I have met more and more lovely neighbors just from working in my front yard gardening who are walking by with their dogs and when walking mine. Many years ago, before I even began offering my pet services professionally, neighbors would ask me to take care of their dogs or kitties as a favor while they were away. They knew that I too was and am a lover of all animals and saw firsthand how their pets felt comfortable with me. I have worked from home for 21 years, so it was very easy for me to help them with their pets, and I happily obliged. These friends and neighbors would tell their friends and neighbors about me, and before I knew it, I was receiving calls from numerous people asking if I would care for their pets, both dogs and kitties. They were thrilled knowing they could leave their dogs in a home environment as opposed to a cold, unsupervised kennel. They saw how excited their dogs were to return to my home, something they hadn't experienced with commercial boarding facilities. This is how Ruby's Pet Retreat was born, being an homage to my first dog, my beloved shepherd mix, Ruby. Since then, I've met so many wonderful people as a result who are not only neighbors and clients, but good friends. I feel that what I do brings our community together. In my opinion, I have the best job in the world. How lucky I am to be able to surround myself with four-legged furry ones and also meet wonderful people. I never felt this way in my 26 years in advertising. I was meant to do what I am doing now. I would like to continue providing my services to my community, my neighbors, and friends. I have 3 specific examples of what sets me apart from commercial boarding facilities. However, I would like to first address the logistics of the complaint and the alleged violation. Dog owners come to Ruby's Pet Retreat because it is not a commercial boarding facility or kennel. As you have read in the numerous letters of support, many of my clients have had very negative experiences at commercial boarding facilities and kennels. When they find me, either through personal referral or next door, they often say, "I'm so glad I found you." Regarding Mr. Duddy's inspection, I was here at home that day. Mr. Duddy was at my next door neighbor's house, the plaintiff. I saw the official city vehicle with the KC Compass Zoning Commission logo on the side of the vehicle. I saw Mr. Duddy taking photos of the plaintiff's house from several angles. From what I saw, I just assumed that my next door neighbor was seeking a permit for an addition to his house. At no point in time did Mr. Duddy inspect my yard from what I could see, or come to my door to ask if I had dogs stay at my home. I have no dog runs in my backyard or kennels in my house because this is not that kind of place. I had no interaction with Mr. Duddy at all. yet I was home the entire time and there were no guest dogs at my home that day. Also, there is absolutely no signage on or around my home and nothing indicating that I sit for dogs. When my next door neighbor called KC Pet Project to complain about me this past winter, the officer who responded asked to see my backyard and said, "I can't even tell that you have dogs here." Exactly. My neighbors who have written letters of support said themselves, "If I didn't know Suzanne, I would never know that she sat for dogs in her home." Also, on my Ruby's Pet Retreat website and Facebook page, which I do not deny having, excuse me, I just lost my place. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I do not list my address or even give my full name. This is for my privacy and for the safety and security of the dogs I care for. It only states that I am located near the Country Club Plaza. Even when someone calls the number I have posted, there is no outgoing message saying this is Ruby's Pet Retreat. It is an automated message saying the person you are trying to reach is not available at this time. So I must question how Mr. Duddy arrived at the conclusion that my home is a commercial boarding facility when he had absolutely no proof at all and only took the word of the plaintiff and a couple of pictures of my home from the outside. If this law is not enforced, as Mr. Duddy admitted to me, and is only based on complaints with only 5 inspectors for the entire metro area, complaints that are often used as harassment of a neighbor they don't like, then isn't this law rather arbitrary? But again, this zoning law is by definition designated for commercial boarding facilities, which Ruby's Pet Retreat is not. Also, when I asked Mr. Duddy what exactly the complaint was, he said that it was because I operate a commercial boarding facility. There was no complaint of excessive barking or neglect of property. So again, how did Mr. Duddy come to this conclusion without having any kind of physical evidence? Regarding the plaintiff and his ally, the complainant, Ms. James, their written allegations that were submitted only after reading the letters of support are nothing but blatant lies, gross exaggerations, and major projections resulting from the plaintiff's failed attempts to bully, harass, and intimidate me into taking down my fence 3 years ago. As a result, Mr. Hayes has held a 3-year grudge against me, continuing to use intimidation and bullying tactics toward me, making it very uncomfortable for me to even be outside in my own yard. This invalid complaint is capricious and vindictive in nature, as Mr. Hayes is using the city to continue this harassment toward me. This harassment is documented and has been reported to Officer Andrew Hamill of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. This past winter, I also reported this harassment numerous times to Ms. Roth, our Westwood Parks Home Association president, pleading for help. My pleas went unanswered. Though Ms. Roth took the plaintiff's complaints without ever consulting with me on the matter or inspecting my property to verify his alleged complaints. Ms. Roth has never been to my property, although she has been aware for years that I am a neighborhood pet sitter. The same is true of Mr. Gastinger, who is also aware yet has never visited my property. Also, Mr. Gastinger states in his notarized letter of opposition that he has lived at 4955 Bell for 28 years, when in fact his home was not built until 1997, 2 years after I had moved into the neighborhood, making his residency 24 years, as his home was a vacant lot beforehand. I would just like to note the discrepancy. As a matter of fact, just last week, Mr. Hayes, the plaintiff, boarded, if you will, his 2 beagles with Ms. James, the complainant, for 1 week while he was on vacation. It was those 2 beagles who awoke me every morning at 7:30 a.m. barking, howling, and baying. While outside in my backyard visiting with my dad, they continued to bark, howl, and bay for several minutes as I recorded it. All the while, the 6 dogs in my backyard were completely quiet. I fail to see how this is any different from what I do, because it is not. I'd like to give you a few examples of what sets me apart from commercial boarding facilities and kennels, if I may. Zafra. Zafra is my 13-year-old German Shepherd who came to me as a guest dog a little over 2 years ago while her owners were away on a 10-day cruise. In that 10 days, I fell in love with Zafra, and I could tell that she felt the same way about me. There is just something about a German Shepherd. They are so very loyal. A couple of weeks after Zafra returned home with her owners, they contacted me saying that they had a major life change situation and would need to find another home for Zafra. Otherwise, she would have to go to a shelter. I just couldn't stand the thought of an 11-year-old German Shepherd going to a shelter, knowing the chances of her being adopted were slim. I decided to keep Zafra as my own, adding to my 2 dogs. She already knew me and knew my home, which is now hers, and where she is living out her last days as she has just been diagnosed with cancer. She also has hip dysplasia, a very common disorder in senior German Shepherds. Being that she suffers from this, I have to go outside with her. It is essential. I am always outside with my dogs. I was only paid when Zafra stayed here the initial 10 days from her owners. Since she has lived with me, her owners reimburse me only for food and veterinary care. Blue. Blue is my 13-year-old red heeler. Blue was also a guest dog whose owner was an elderly gentleman who lived a few blocks from me. He found me on Nextdoor as well. Jim, Blue's owner, was the only person Blue knew as Jim lived alone with no family in town. I gave Blue his name as Jim just called him Dog. Blue was wearing a blue scarf around his neck when he first came to visit, so I said, let's call him Blue. And that has been the name he has known for several years. 2 years ago, Jim underwent a double leg amputation at the age of 88 due to years of untreated diabetes. Jim called me the day before he went into surgery asking if I could look after Blue for a month until Jim could come home. Jim never came back home. His rehab was unsuccessful. And he went into hospice where he passed away. Jim had asked me just the day before if he could see Blue one last time. And I said I would have him over the very next morning, but Jim didn't make it through the night. My home is Blue's home now. I also never took any payment from Jim. He gave me a few vintage items from his home, but I never accepted payment. And Durham. Durham has been a guest dog for years and is now a long-term guest dog. Durham's owner is not just a client, but a friend, and was until last fall my neighbor who lived just a few houses away from me, and also a former board member of the Westwood Park Homes Association. Durham's owner often traveled out of the country for sometimes a month at a time to visit relatives overseas. Having known that I dog sat for several neighbors, Durham's owner felt more comfortable keeping him here at my home than putting him in a commercial boarding facility or kennel for an entire month. Durham knew me. Durham and his owner would walk by my house all the time, and I would pet Durham while outside in my garden and chat with Durham's owner. Then after the first time Durham stayed here for a month, each time his owner would walk by my house, Durham would automatically start to walk up my sidewalk thinking he was staying here. Actually, many of the dogs I sit for in the neighborhood do that. I take it as a huge compliment. So when Durham's owner fell and hit his head on our street last fall while walking Durham, the first thing he said to people running to his aid was, "Go get Suzanne." Durham's owner had to be taken by ambulance to the hospital, and I immediately took Durham to my house, as Durham's owner also lives alone and has no family in town. After numerous hospital visits, it was determined that Durham's owner would have to move into an assisted living facility. They're allowed to have dogs, but Durham's owner is now undergoing chemo and radiation treatments for lymphoma. Durham's owner and I have had several discussions about scheduling test visits to see if he can take care of him again on a permanent basis. But for now, Durham will always have a home here at my house, which he already considers home. Since this incident took place last fall, I have not accepted payment from Durham's owner, only reimbursement for food and vet care like Zofra. Now, if these 3 dogs had gone to a commercial boarding facility or kennel, who knows where they would have ended up? Perhaps in an already overcrowded shelter. And being that they are all senior dogs, who knows if anyone would have adopted them? They already knew me and felt safe and comfortable in my home, as all of my guest dogs do. This is my home, and I provide specialized and individual care to each dog who stays here 24 hours a day. I consider what I do to be a valuable asset to my neighborhood, my neighbors, and surrounding communities. My clients and their dogs depend on me and the services I offer. More and more dog owners are seeking home-based pet sitting services just like mine. All one has to do is search Nextdoor and Rover to see dozens and dozens of people promoting their home-based pet sitting services. There is even a young couple who live catty corner behind me who dog sit professionally from their home and who promote their services on Rover, right next door to the complainant, Miss James. My clients range from local award-winning chefs, physicians, state legislators, and even one of the top land use lawyers in Kansas City who wasn't even aware of this particular zoning law. I wouldn't be surprised if a member of this committee has used home-based dog sitting services like mine. But again, I am not a commercial boarding facility or kennel. I am a private pet sitter who meets with clients by appointment only and with the strict approval of a meet and greet prior to their dogs staying at my home to ensure the safety of each of my dogs, both personal and guest dogs. When those standards are met, each dog is required to have current vaccinations for Bordetella, rabies, and to be current on their heartworm, flea, and tick preventatives. I have veterinary information on file for each dog. I keep an impeccably neat and clean yard and am very cognizant of my neighbors near me. I am in regular communication with owners while they are away, giving updates, sending photos and videos. Madam Chair, if I am forced to cease my services, it will only send my clients into a panic as well as my guest dogs. They will have to seek new accommodations and go through the arduous process of finding someone else they trust as much as they trust me. It will only confuse and stress their dogs, with whom I have developed strong bonds and relationships and who have come to trust me. Dogs who are friends with my personal dogs and who they love to play with and look forward to seeing. Also, my clients will just go to other home-based dog sitting services. They will never, ever board their dogs at commercial facilities or kennels. Madam Chair and board members, I am asking you to please consider all of the testimonies supporting me, my services, and my service and commitment to my neighbors and surrounding community, and allow me to continue doing so. I have been caring for dogs in my home for 8 years. When I mentioned this to Mr. Duddy, he said that if I were to go before a judge, the judge would just tell me that I'm lucky I've gotten away with it for as long as I have. I promise you, I'm not trying to get away with anything. I am giving quality, personalized care to dogs in my home. It is simple as that. Lastly, here is Exhibit A, Sadie, a long-term guest dog. And she has been snuggled between me and my office chair this entire time. This is her rear end, I'm so sorry. This is Sadie, and she's been snuggled between me and my office chair this entire time. This is the kind of dog who stays here at the retreat, and this is the kind of care they receive. And the rest of my dogs have been lying quietly on the floor here in my office. That is all I have for right now. I want to thank Madam Chair and the board members for hearing me today. And thank you to my supporters.
Right, Ms. McDaniel, I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Yes.
And I appreciate your love of dogs. I think most people on this board probably love their dogs. But this board has limited jurisdiction. And what we need to determine is whether or not this is an appropriate home occupation or not. So as I understand your testimony, you accept compensation for the care of dogs while they're in your home. Is that correct?
Yes.
And at any one time, what's the maximum number of dogs that you would have in the home?
On average, I average 1 to 2 dogs on average. The most I would have is during the holidays, which would be about 4 guest dogs.
And currently in your home right now, how many dogs do you have?
I have 2 guest dogs, Sadie and Maisie.
And you have your other 2 dogs that you consider to be your dogs.
I have 4 dogs.
You have 4 dogs in addition to the 2 guest dogs in your home?
I have 3 dogs that I mentioned, Zafra, Blue, Durham, and then my dog Bernie. They're all lying here with me.
Okay. Can a staff person tell me how many dogs are allowed in a residential home? I believe there's an ordinance that limits the number of dogs you can have.
It's 4.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to remember. Is that correct, staff? Is she correct?
That's personal dogs.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Patty, correct me if I'm wrong. It's 4 or 5, correct?
Who said that?
That's Anna.
That's Anna.
City staff.
It is 4 dogs.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duddy. That was James Duddy speaking.
Yes.
All right, so Anna or James, I don't know who wants to say that. Anna, can you give the board the definition of a home occupation?
One moment, let me pull it back up. Sharing my screen.
Okay, so it says at the top that home occupations are accessories or accessory uses to the household living category. And then it goes down to the standards and it says a dwelling unit may be used for 1 or more home occupations subject to compliance with all the following minimum standards. And it does allow animal grooming, care, and boarding. But Anna, explain to the board why that's not allowed in this zone.
These are home occupations. These home occupations are prohibited types of home occupations, and they are considered to be more commercial in nature and not appropriate for a residential neighborhood.
Okay. So, okay.
So there's also the intent behind the home occupation ordinance, subject to outdoor storage, the retail sales, how many clients are you having over to your home? Those types of items are considered that are not appropriate for a home occupation.
Okay, so under this, what McDaniel is doing, it would be in violation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you can stop sharing your screen. And Ms. McDaniel, I'm one board member, and I am sympathetic to your care and love of animals. But the board has limited jurisdiction, and we can't vary the code. We're not the legislative body here. We're the enforcing body. If you wish to try to change the ordinance to allow this, then that would have to be before the city council. And
I understand.
And we have very limited jurisdiction. And what you've described, again, one board member, is just in direct violation of this. And we have to have some reason to say that you're not, and you've not presented any evidence. I think you're incredibly honest, and I give you lots of credibility for that, because I sometimes, in the time I've been on this board, I've heard lots of people that I'm not sure I believe, but you honestly care about what you're doing, and you've told us what you do. I'm one board member. I don't know how we can get around the very strict standard of this ordinance. And there may be others that are violating it, and we may be hearing from them, or they may be receiving a violation soon, and they will no longer be able to do that either. So
I'm sorry, is this a question or a statement? Because Madam Chair,
I'm commenting, so I'm trying to let you understand what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. So unless you can tell me something different than you've already said, I'm one board member, but I'm not seeing how you give us any evidence to overturn the decision that's been made.
If I may, I thought that the fact that Mr. Duddy's inspection actually, he said that when he was here that day, he saw no dogs. And if you look at the photos of my home and read the letters of support, people who walk by my house, people who have known me, said I wouldn't even be able to tell that she sits for dogs. Also, I don't understand how Ms. James sitting for the plaintiff's dogs for a week, how do we know that she was not compensated either via trade or, you know, cash by the plaintiffs? Whether it's on a casual basis or on a professional basis, I fail to see the difference. We all know that this is what people do. And again, knowing that it is blatant that pet sitters openly and publicly advertise on Rover and Nextdoor for their services, wouldn't that make this law arbitrary in nature, being that it's not enforced, but only via complaint? And honestly, this complaint, the plaintiffs have known that I've been pet sitting since they moved in 4 years ago. I welcomed them, and they told me that they had 2 beagles and they had 1 to begin with. And when I told them what I do, they were thrilled. It wasn't until the fence issue.
Okay, and I appreciate all that, ma'am. But you here under oath today have testified that you are operating an animal care business in your home. You are accepting animals, you're accepting payment. You're not denying that. So that is enough evidence for this board to uphold the decision of the codes administrator. And while you might not like the ordinance, that does not give this board, this board cannot overturn and find an ordinance arbitrary or unconstitutional, so to speak. We don't have that ability. So we are limited in what we can do here. By definition of the ordinance, you're in violation of it, as may be others.
The people who are here supporting me, do they have a voice? Can they speak?
I'm happy to hear from anyone. I'm just telling you, I'm one board member, and I'll ask other board members if they have questions, and I'm happy to hear everybody. But if it's more that they like you and appreciate you, I don't think that's going to change your testimony, which is what the board has to use to make the decision based on your own admission.
Madam Chair, may I ask, isn't the essence of zoning to contribute to the welfare and benefit of a community? And in doing so, have I not presented that case by stating and proving that I provide services to my neighbors which have brought us together?
That's not the standard that we apply. We apply whether or not you're in compliance with the actual terms of the ordinance. that is our limited jurisdiction.
Madam Chair, I
Yeah.
have one question
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Panucci.
for the applicant. Do you, Ms. McDaniel, do you have any other job, or is this your sole business?
This is my sole business. I am a freelance writer. However, there hasn't been any. I was doing freelance I was recording an audiobook that was canceled during the pandemic due to funding issues. I too, my pet sitting business suffered during the pandemic as people weren't traveling, and I was on pandemic unemployment assistance. As the people started traveling again, my business, of course, started to pick up, for which I was grateful.
Thank you. I just have one comment, and then I'll be quiet. I share the sympathies of our chairwoman, and I just would like to say you've made an excellent case for why we might need to change the ordinance, but we are limited with what we can do based on the ordinance, as the chairwoman said. So, thank you.
May I add that I also pay taxes on my income, and being self-employed, I pay a higher percentage than most. If something to think about.
Again, I wish, ma'am, those were factors that we could consider. That is not a factor. This board, again, has to look at the ordinance based on your testimony of whether or not you fall within it. So those are facts that are not probative to what we're looking at. So let me ask this question. To the people that are here in support, do you have any factual information to have this board believe that the applicant has not testified honestly today about her operation within her home? Okay. Are all of the people here in support supportive of her because you believe she does wonderful things for dogs and she's a person that you respect and like? Is that the basis for your support?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that was Ms. Shields said yes. Let me just call your name if you're in support.
Oh, Ann
Okay.
Schleiss, yes.
Okay.
Michael Taylor, yes, I am definitely in support because I have utilized her services and she was incredible.
Okay. Ms. Jolliffe, what is the basis of your support?
I've known Suzanne for over 40 years, and I do follow her Ruby Pet Retreat on social media. She does not advertise that it is a business in any way. She talks about the dogs that she takes care of. I don't see how this is any different than an average person going to someone else's house or bringing them to their own house to watch their animals, just like they would kids. That's all I have.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not the definition of a home occupation, ma'am. I appreciate what your comment is, but if you bring someone into your own home to dog sit or cat sit or babysit or child sit, they're actually working in your home, not in their home. So that's a caregiver and within your own home. Ms. Goebel, what's your position of support?
My position is that the service that Suzanne provides, in my case, it's basically respite care for the community at large. I foster dogs for the KC Pet Project, and our dogs cannot go to a commercial boarding institute or a vet's office even. Home care is the only way that we can get some respite care for the animals that we're taking care of. So if the board has the capability to give Suzanne a variance that says, instead of the limit of 4 animals in your house at once, you could have 6. That would possibly, you know, allow her to provide what she is doing for the community.
Ms. Goebel, I appreciate your comments. Again, that is not something this board has the ability to do. We can't vary that ordinance. We don't have that ability. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Boardman, Deanna, is it Boardman? Did I get that right? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you're here in support. What is the basis for your support?
I wanted to look at the ordinance itself and the way I had read it initially. Emotions and caregiving aside, my question was regards to the ordinance. When it listed all of those, are we allowed to see that again? Because I thought I had seen where it was talking about at the top of that, separate dwellings for those businesses were not allowed. And so I am trying to look at that specific exhibit that she showed earlier.
Okay, so what's your question about it so that I can have staff address it?
My question is, was it listing at the top of that ordinance that you guys showed that this was in relation to accessory units on a home and not allowing those home occupations based on what was listed there in regards to that?
We can,
as if it was like a separate unit on the home and like they couldn't partition out part of their house for that versus caregiving. And I understand she's being reimbursed for services, and that is the ordinance that she has been accused of violating. I understand that. I just want to know if I'm reading it correctly.
I believe what that ordinance says is that if you have a home occupation and it's an allowed home occupation, that it has to be done within the dwelling itself. It cannot be in an accessory structure. Anna or Sarah Baxter, am I correct on that?
That is correct, and you cannot alter your home to like partition the home occupation from your dwelling unit.
Okay, so Ms. Boardman.
And I guess I would just add what you may have looked at, what the woman commenting may have looked at is it makes a reference to it being an accessory use. So not an accessory structure, an accessory use. That may be what you saw on the screen.
Okay, so Ms. Boardman, with that information, do you have anything else in support that you wish us to hear?
I do not have anything that would dispute the facts.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Boardman. All right, I believe I've heard from Mr. Taylor. Ms. Neal, you were here in support. Is your support, are you here? Can you hear me? Did she drop off? Ms. Neal, can you hear me?
I am no longer seeing her as an attendee.
Okay, then we'll move forward. Mr. Nelson, are you still with me? Can you turn on your microphone, sir? I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, and do you have a factual basis that would set aside anything that Ms. Mcdaniel has said, or is your support based on something else?
Well, I don't know whether you'd call it factual support or not. I'm here because I think she has rendered a valuable service to the community, and I understand the law. And this is one of those cases where I think the law is wrong, but there are a lot of those actually. Her service to the community and to me personally is the main reason that prompted me to testify.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mr. Nelson. All right, and Ms. Kane, I think you're the last person here in support. Do you wish to speak? Susan Kane, are you still with us? I don't see her. Is she still with us?
She wrote a note that she had to leave.
Okay, okay, all right. All right, so then I'm going to quickly ask for the people in opposition. Do you wish to speak at this time? Ms. James, would you like to speak? Betty James?
Yes. Do I need to be sworn in?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've lived here since the fall of 2013. And when I first moved in, Suzanne and I were fairly good friends. But over the years, there have been conflicts between us. And when she started her pet sitting, or if she says she's been doing it for 10 years now, then she started it a couple of years before I thought she was starting it, because in November of 2015, I found a black lab dog in my backyard when I went out to let my dog out to go to the bathroom at about 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And I looked at the tag, and she did have tags on, and I called the number on the tag, and the people didn't answer. And I, in essence, basically kept the dog until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The people called back. They had flown to New Orleans. They had left the dog with Suzanne early in the morning. And Suzanne didn't even know the dog was missing.
That is not true.
Okay, Ms. McDaniel, let her finish. I'll give you the last speak, okay?
Thank you.
That's all right. Go ahead, Ms. James.
At the time, I didn't have a privacy fence around my house. Suzanne had a picket fence, and we seemed to be able to get along with that. But this dog had jumped the fence, is what it did. And in the past, several dogs have either jumped the fence or they have come underneath dug underneath the fence coming into my backyard. So I ended up putting up a 6-foot privacy fence to take care of that. I appreciate that people are enjoying having her take care of their dogs because it's convenient, it's in the neighborhood. But in reality, up until about the middle of May or the first part of June, when she knew she was, or whenever she got summoned the first time, the dogs were let outside by themselves and they bark incessantly. They run back and forth between her two gates. They whine, they cry. Like she said, and she admitted it, one of them jumped the fence about a month or so ago and went after one of my neighbor's dogs. She is not out there with them all the time. She has been over the last month and a half or so since she was sighted. But previously to that, that's not the type of care she was giving them. And my concern has always been, and she has lost dogs in the past, my concern is it's a wonder the dog hasn't been seriously hurt or she has lost the dog and not been able to find it. So, I think that the people that take their dogs there evidently are able to pick them up and take them home at night. But there have been some times when the dogs have gotten loose and gotten into other people's yards or just completely got out of Suzanne's yard and she's lost them. And that's not a good situation. I mean, I have a dog. I take him to a dog's fun place over on Warnell. I also have a dog sitter who comes to my house and he only babysits my dog. As for me taking care of Colin and Kate's dogs last week, I did that. They had done a favor for me in my backyard and I did that as a favor to them. I did not charge them. And that gave me a total of 3 dogs in my house, not 7 or 8 or 9. So I appreciate that this is Suzanne's business and I'm sorry that she's not going to be able to continue it, but like the rest of us, she can go find something else to do and something that's legal.
Okay. Ms. James, anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Gastinger, yes. Did I say that correct? Do you still wish to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Would you state your name, please, so the court reporter can hear it again?
Kurt Gastinger.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, my respect to the BZA members for all of your patience and abilities to hang in here. As a former BZA board member, I especially understand all of the issues that you have to deal with from day to day. I'm also an architect with over 40 years experience dealing with issues of properties and properties that comply or don't comply, and how variances and applications are handled. One clarification with Ms. McDaniel's comments. I live 3 doors south of her, and we purchased our property in 1993. So that was 28 years, but I misspoke. We did not build our house, or didn't finally get it built until 97. But nonetheless, I've been aware and friends with and neighbors for the full time that we purchased our property. And I filed a notarized letter in support of the staff report, which I think is following the report as closely as they can. And I think it's important to note that any special use zoning or spot zoning within a R6 neighborhood is really sets a dangerous precedent. And so this is the reason that I'm also opposed to granting the variance. This is not just something that happens in our neighborhood. It could happen all over the city. And if there's a mood to change the ordinance, then that's where the thrust of a case like this should go. And I think a couple of other comments is that it doesn't really matter and I appreciate the quality and care and love that is given to the business. It's important that it be done that in the most high quality way, but it doesn't make a difference if it's in violation of the ordinance. So with that, I will turn it to the next person.
Okay, I think the only other people I have that haven't spoke in opposition is Colin and Katie Hayes. Do you both wish to speak?
Briefly, yes.
Okay, let me have you each state your name and then I'll swear you in then if you're in opposition. Okay, state your names, please, one at a time.
Colin Hayes.
And Kate Hayes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please go ahead. Mr. Hayes, you can go first.
Sure. I'll be brief. I think most of what we intended to say today has already been said, both by Ms. McDaniel and our other neighbors who are here in opposition with us. I don't know if the board read our notarized letter that was submitted for this, but the very first sentence or the second sentence of that letter spoke to not to be dramatic, the gravity of the situation. This is our first home in our first neighborhood together. So I don't take lightly what we're doing here. We are here disrupting our neighbor's business, her sole source of income, her livelihood. And I'm not doing this out of spite. We're not doing this out of spite, out of pettiness. We're doing it because that's where we were forced to do. So I understand that a case has been made that this is, a form of retaliation driven by petty motives, and that's just simply not true. I'd corroborate everything that Betty has said, along with what Kirk has said as well. I have no doubt that Ms. McDaniel's passion for her animals and what she does is legitimate. I've seen that firsthand. But that said, it does not work for us. It has not worked for us for a long time. And I've been engaging with the city now since late December of last year, early January of this year. And it's only now that we've gotten to this point, to this hearing, that we're finally getting this sorted out once and for all. So I don't take it lightly. I appreciate the board's time in hearing this. Again, I would echo and corroborate everything that Betty said. And the only thing that I'd add in addition to that, I think it should be telling for the board that despite all the support that Ms. McDaniel has received here today, her two immediate neighbors, both to the east, us to the south, are here in opposition. And the one who is there to the north chose not to participate in this case. So take that for what it's worth. I'll yield back the rest of our time. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I don't have anything else to add.
That's all for us.
All right, Ms. McDaniel, you get to speak last. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I will not be subjected to blatant lies and attacks on the care that I give for my dogs here. Miss James vehemently hates me, and so do the Hayeses. And I will attest to the point, as I said, this all started 3 years ago over a fence issue when Mr. Hayes tried to bully and intimidate me into taking down my fence when he was advised by our Homes Association president and others, including Mr. Gastinger, to put up his own fence on the other side of my fence. He finally did so, but only after trying to intimidate me again, after lying and claiming that his property went 3 feet onto mine. I told him that was ludicrous. And he said, I will have documents in your mailbox today by 5 p.m. if I don't hear from you showing that this is the truth. Those documents never showed because it was a lie. He finally paid for a survey, which he began erecting his fence. But in that time, Mr. Hayes continued to pace his fence line while I was outside with my dogs, and he would shake his head and glare at me while he was outside with his 2 beagles who bark and howl and bay all the time. It is his dogs who instigate the other dogs in the neighborhood barking. There are so many dogs in this neighborhood. There are 2 dogs across the street from me who bark. They're let out late at night and allowed to be out there for 20 minutes before they go to bed. While those beagles were at Miss James's house, I have it recorded on my Ruby's Pet Retreat Facebook page, how they barked nonstop, unattended. Miss James is blatantly lying. And I want that noted for the record. I won't stand for her lies. The only reason she put up her fence is because she too did not like my picket fence. She even told our neighbor. She is a known gossip, and she hates me. And I am being attacked simply because of personal rivalry. And that is the truth. The Hayeses did not even know about this law until after they called KC Pet Project to complain about me. And that was when I acquired Durham, being the 5th dog, as I had another dog, Biddy, who I had put to sleep in January. She was 15 years old. I'd like to note that when I had the in-home vet over here to euthanize Biddy, I let my other 4 dogs outside as to not disturb him. They barked when they were outside because I wasn't with them. That is the only time. 45 minutes after I had my dog euthanized and she was carried away by the vet, Mr. Hayes called KC Pet Project on me to report barking dogs. I found that to be extremely cruel in nature, which is what this is based on. This is based on cruelty and revenge, and I want that noted. I realize I have no chance in hell here today, and I will deal with that. As far as getting a job that is legal, Ms. James, that is none of your business.
Okay.
And I would just like to note that for the record, that this is based on cruelty, and he does not care. He stated in his letter, I have no sympathy if this causes hardship, Ms. McDaniel. So I want that noted. And I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. Anyone else that I missed? All right, board members, do you have any further questions for Ms. McDaniel or for staff? Or any other person who has made comments today? All right, hearing no other questions, I would ask a board member to make a motion on this case.
Madam Chair, I don't believe we have any choice but to move to uphold the decision of the director in this case.
I have a motion for Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Ebbets abstains.
Okay.
I abstain.
Okay, and chair votes with the motion. The decision of the codes administrator is being upheld. Thank you all very much. And, you know, if you feel as strongly about this as you have displayed to us today, your option is to go to your council member and talk with them about some change. So
that is my next step, Madam Chair. Thank you. I will be pursuing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, Ms. James.
Since you're denying her appeal, then what's the time frame for shutting her business down?
Someone from codes can talk to you about that offline. Please call them and they'll describe that to you. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, folks, if you please sign off. We have a couple more administrative things we need to do. So thank you all. All right. I believe we have an issue still on our agenda today. Is that correct? About handling cases via Zoom. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Sarah, can you raise that issue, please, so the board can decide what they need to do about that?
Sure. So I emailed you all like shortly before the meeting, so I don't know that you saw that. But when we amended the rules, when the pandemic began, we tied the authority to hold virtual meetings to the state of emergency. The state of emergency has been extended a number of times, but it's currently set to expire August 31st, and I have not heard if it will be extended further. So I think it might be a good idea to just eliminate that and just allow the board to hold virtual meetings, period, without a reference to that state of emergency. We did that at the CPC. Because I'm assuming we're going to probably remain virtual for a while. I don't know that we've discussed that, but that's my assumption.
Right, and I'll just speak to this. I know several courts have now once again canceled in-person jury trials. And so because of an increase in things, so I do think it would make sense for us to have authority to keep doing this. Otherwise, you know, we'll kind of be in a bind, and I'm not sure the board wants to go down to City Hall. If you do, I'll go with you. but you know, I'm vaccinated. I feel kind of safe about myself, but not others. And so anyway, so I'm one person, but I'd support that. I mean, as hard as these big cases are for me to manage, I'll do what is best for the board and the community. So do we need a motion, Sarah, if the board is so inclined to continue this or make it a permanent option? How do we do that?
Yeah, so there would just need to be a motion to amend the rules to remove the reference to the state of emergency and simply just allow virtual meetings.
Okay, can I have such a motion if that is the board's pleasure?
So moved by Ebbets.
I have a motion by Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Banuki. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion, and this matter has been affirmed. All right, Sarah and Anna, anything else we need to address today?
Should we address the meeting time for the September docket?
Oh.
It is quite a lengthy docket as of right now.
Yes, thank you. And I'm sorry to take over, but Joe and I had just a discussion by email about this. My suggestion is this: if we could manage it, could we start at 9 o'clock on the 14th? Does that cause conflict in people's schedules? So that way we wouldn't have to come up with a second date. We would just start at 9 o'clock, go for several hours, take a brief lunch break, and then finish up. I don't know, Anna, do you know if there's a lot of opposition, neighborhood, things in those cases, or if they're just a little more straightforward?
As of right now, I don't know the details of the public testimony, but I do know we're looking at 48 cases.
Oh my goodness.
Right now.
Oh my goodness.
And so there's no way we're gonna get through.
We are now back to the number of cases when I first joined this board in 1996. Folks, we may have to go back to 2 days. Or we're going to have to go to 1 full day. That's my question. Would you rather go to 2 days in a month, which is difficult for some, or do you want to go to one day going from 9 o'clock until 5? You're still giving up the same amount of time. It's just you're getting 1 full day back in your docket like you have now.
It's a little tough to just take a day off, an entire day. That's tough. If it continues like this, I'd like to look at going back to twice a month.
Any other strong feelings about this?
Why the increase?
I don't, Anna, can you say, is it just that construction is up again? What is it?
I think it's a mixture between construction being up, people using their stimulus checks to invest in their homes, items like that.
Low interest rates.
Yeah.
And Chairman Otto Evetts here. I'm out of town on the 14th. I'm traveling actually. I could probably make a 1:30 or 2 o'clock, but I'm gone that Tuesday.
So Anna, if we can't start earlier that day, then we're probably going to have to look to do another meeting because there's physically no way.
Correct. There's physically no way to make it through all of those items.
We might get through half of them if they're not complicated with a lot of testimony, because we have been covering 20 some cases if they're not complex, and from 1 o'clock to 5. Right. But I don't think there's any way, unless I talk really fast, as does everybody else, and the court reporter will absolutely murder us if we do that. So that's not a good option.
So how about staff just create a few options for that special meeting, and then look at possibly creating a schedule with 2 dates from here on forth?
My problem is that the other Tuesdays in the month, like the 21st and the 28th, I'm booked because I wasn't expecting a BZA hearing. So, and I've kind of booked out through the end of the year on that basis. So, other people can chair, when I'm not there if they're available, but we're going to have to be flexible, I think. Let me ask you this question, Anna. Does October's docket look as heavy as September's?
Right now, that's hard to tell because the deadline hasn't, the application deadline hasn't come through yet.
Okay. So do we have to find another?
2.
I'm sorry, what, Tom?
I know of 2 for October.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think it is.
I know, because we continued them. Yes, I get it. Okay. All right. Well,
maybe it's September.
So it sounds like starting at 9 on the 14th is a bad idea. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think that would be fine for the 14th for me. I don't know everybody else. If there's just that one instance and then kind of going.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
schedule after that.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking about doing that indefinitely. I'm just trying to figure out a way to how to accommodate 48 cases in September. Because we're just pushing this forward, and that's what used to happen all the time when I was first on the board. We never finished a docket. We just kept rolling them forward, and we had 2 meetings a month. So
I can make 9 o'clock on work. I don't know if that matters.
Mike and Tom, or Tom, can you do that on this 14th? I mean, Mark can't be there, it sounds like, until 1:30, but.
I'm not going to be here at all on the 14th.
Okay, so you're gone and Mark is, okay, so that Tom and Tom?
So Teresa Evetts here. So I'm traveling from California that day because of the time zone difference. I probably could start at 9, but I probably would have to bail out by noon Kansas City time.
Okay, so you could hear.
So I could be there.
for
Yeah,
Tom.
at
Okay.
least,
I'm
yeah, at
just-
least for
yeah.
a couple hours.
This is a one-time thing, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to figure out how to get these taken care of, and then we'll address if we need to go back to 2 days a month. I mean, I think till we got to figure this out and then maybe attack 2021 with a new set of rules again, probably. So Mike, you're gone the whole day. You can't accommodate any part of the day, correct?
No, I'm gonna be, I thought I was gonna be in Saskatchewan today, but I'm
Gonna be then. Okay, I gotcha. So Tom Stiller and Tom Gorentz, can you do 9 o'clock on the 14th and try to help us get this done? Okay. So then Anna, I think that's our best bet, because it sounds like we have Tom, Teresa, Randy, and Tony and Mark for full-time, and then Mark for part of it. So
Okay.
guys, I hate this so much, but I don't really have another solution to solve this for us. So I appreciate this, and we're gonna have to figure out if this is a new trend and how we handle it. So it was nice while it lasted. That's what I would have to say.
I really have to go.
Okay, so we're done. That's it. So Anna, you have your marching orders. Let's start at 9 o'clock on the 14th, and we'll address everything after that. Okay? The board is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Do you
Thank
want
you.
this
Bye-bye.
typed up, or do you want?
I'm sorry.
Usually we don't type these up, but so I'm just asking, do you want it typed up?
No.
Okay, I'll just bill you for my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. All right.
Have a nice day.